Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Sorry for the bad hair. I don't know what the hell happened here, but this is what we got to go with tonight. We are getting into Sasquatch, Bigfoot, the science behind everything in an extremely rare interview tonight. Dr. Melba Ketchum will be with us for the first time on Spaced Out Radio to talk about the Sasquatch phenomena. We are going to bring her on here momentarily. But first, let's say hello to each and every one of you in our chat room so far, because Radioland doesn't get that. Let's say hello to Nightmare in the gold medal position. We have Sugar Britches in the silver. Race Fan taking home a bronze medal tonight. Willard Wright, nice to see you. Michael Morris, Kathy Evans, Eric Markham, nice to have you here. Hi, Logan L. and Roy Boy. Andrew, how you doing, my man? Red Dirt Cryptid Investigations, welcome to SOR chat. Thank you for joining us. Brown Dwarf, nice to see you. Robin McCrae is in the chat room. Robin will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Val SWPA, welcome to the chat room again. Les Paul Holland in Australia. Jenny, nice to see you. Chris716, thank you for coming on in. D. Cohen, Lisa C., Ozzy Sue, nice to see you all. And here we go, Emmy Tong. And who else do we have? Oh, there he is, number 31 in your program, starting in goal tonight. We have our good friend Lars Jansson from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. All right, continuing on. Sweet Donna, how are you? And who else do we have here? We got Brad Ford. Thank you for coming on in. Hi, Monica. Dave Walters and Kamloops. A good Ukrainian kid, Anita Lebichuk, good to see you. And let's see, who else do we have here? Laura Lobbs, thank you for coming on in. And who else is here? We have our good friend Doug Shelby. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means it's officially that we can start this show. Kurt M., nice to have you here. And who else do we have here? We have Ozzy. Oi, oi to you, my friend. Moving on, Ed Clador. Nice to see you. And Dr. Melba, I do have you. I do have you on the screen here. So I don't know what's happening there, but we got you. We got you. Okay, moving on here. Luscious Jewels, nice to see you. Human Carl, thank you for coming on in. Thank you for being a great veteran of the United States Air Force. We appreciate you, my man. And who else is here? Matthew Gutka, Robert Lamoth, good to have you guys here. Who else is here? Pixie Lara, nice to see you. And who else is here? Let's see. We have, scrolling on down, you guys are chatting a lot. W. David Page, Commonwealth Andrew, Me Woykin, nice to see you all. And there's Redneck, nice to have you here. Millennium, my man, good to see you. John Sabe Melon, nice to see you. Deb from SAC. And who else is here? That one guy. Good to have you both here. Thank you so much. Maggie M10, Daryl Zerline. Good to have you both here. And Zen 1. Bombshell Bomber makes her return. CS, good to see you. Ruaden, welcome from Utah. Paul UK, good morning to you. And Chillgasm, nice to see you. Jessica Lee the Bee, Space Cow, nice to have you all here. Sparkles on Facebook, nice to see you, my dear. Hey, Arlie, nice to have you here. Hi, Pam Harris. And we got to start the radio side here. That way Bill WD-40 can get in the chat room and lube us up for tonight's show. Moving on, hi Paramarv, Nancy Thames, Katrina M. Nice to see you all. And Jessica Davenport, welcome. Rugged Source, good to see you. Long Island Bigfoot, thanks for coming on in. Chuck Danger, thank you for coming on in. And we got 25 seconds. Love V Love, how you doing, gorgeous? And let's see, we're going to run out of time. Boom, gorgeous Bama, how are you? Brad Ford again. Chad C, thanks for coming on in. And let's see here. We got 10 seconds. I don't think I'm going to make it for everybody. Desert Rat, thanks you for coming on in. Hordes up, everybody. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Got a great night of programming for you tonight. Dr. Melba Ketchum comes back on the air to talk about Sasquatch and the science behind the cryptid creature. Then in hour number 3, we are going to head to the swamp for another story from Swamp Dweller. Then Robin McCrae will join us for another great cryptid report, filling in for Super Duke tonight. Dr. Melba Ketchum grew up south of Houston, Texas. She is a Moody Scholar and attended Texas A&M University in College Station, where she received her doctorate in veterinary medicine in only 5 years. She practiced veterinary medicine until 1985, when her interest in genetics led her to establish DNA Diagnostics in that same year. She advanced the science through her invention of VeriSNP. She was a member of the Forensic DNA Analysts and Administrators and has served as the organization's treasurer. She has also been a consultant on local, national, and international levels and provided professional forensic consultation and testimony in legal cases. She is one of the scientists that provided sequencing analysis for the World Trade Center victims. Now she focuses on Sasquatch and Bigfoot with her project called the Cryptid Genome Project for the first time on Space Radio. Dr. Melba Ketchum, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine. You know,
okay, great.
I just want to say a big thank you to you, Robin McCrae, and Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. You don't do a lot of interviews due to what's,
I don't.
You know, due to the subject matter and everything like that. You prefer to kind of stay in the background with everything. I have to ask you, as a scientist, why do you believe in Sasquatch? Why do you believe it's out there?
I didn't believe. I was absolutely as bad. I actually made fun of a friend of mine that saw one. I had no idea what she saw. She was up here visiting me, and she saw one, and it scared her so bad that she just went in the house and called and begged me to come home. And she and her girls were in the corner crying when I got home. They were so scared. And she's describing one perfectly, but I mean, I was so far away from even thinking that they existed that I didn't know what she had seen. So I kind of laughed and tried to make light of it because I didn't know what to say to her, and it was not good. I've gotten it back many times over for doing that. I mean, I wasn't trying to be ugly, but I just didn't know what she saw. So no, I didn't believe. I mean, this was a shock to me When we tested samples for years. People would send them and say they were Sasquatch. They were always raccoon or something, something common. And so we got where we would laugh when somebody would send a sample in. That was until we got some that were eyewitness encounters, and then they tested human, and the hair was no way human in any shape, form, or fashion. It was more like horse mane hair. So it was a real shocker. I didn't believe it. I ran it a bunch of times at first because I
Oh,
just didn't believe it.
we are going to get heavy into the science of this creature coming on up. What year did that happen where your friends got freaked out? Because, I mean, I have seen the creature. I've seen 3 of them now. And I've been
1995.
1995. Going on it from a scientific point of view, many scientists will sit there and say it's impossible that this creature is roaming around the forest, or any type of cryptid creature, whether it's Dogman or gnomes or anything, could actually truly be out there. We would have found it by now. That's always the excuse that's used. Yet here we are still debating this ginormous creature that has been seen for centuries, if not millennia, by First Nations people and now people of today who have had encounters. I mean, why does science have such a tough time believing that it could be out there?
Because they don't have a body, because they don't have the science, and everybody's scared to do it because they're afraid that they'll lose their jobs or be made fun of. And I shouldn't have. I wish I hadn't, because it cost me everything. But my curiosity won out. I just had to see what was going on with this. I'd never seen anything like it. And, so we dove into it, and then we had funding to do it. So we went even further, and we wrote an unbelievable paper. And it wasn't just me. I had a team of very good scientists, from university people to forensic people on it, and different disciplines. And each one of them wrote their own part of the paper. And I wrote part of it too. And then we put it all together. I put it together, taking their different written portions and combining it. And we used like a dozen labs. We did not put anything really that we did on it because I was concerned that people already had enough trouble disbelieving it. So I thought, well, we're going to send these samples out to all these good accredited labs and all these really high-end university labs, and we're not going to tell them what they're testing. We're just going to pay them and get it done. And that worked really well because, like, one of the main labs we used for the sequencing of the different genes and what have you that we did on the paper, they had some primers, which are like bookmarks that select a portion of DNA that you want to look at and run the polymerase chain reaction on it to amplify it, because you have to amplify DNA to get enough of it that you can actually see on a gel. So that's what that's about. And she had this beautiful sequence, and it was 100 bases shorter than it was supposed to be. Bases meaning the number of nucleic acids in the sequence. And say it was supposed to be 400, and it was like 300 bases. And she could see the primers on both ends, and she couldn't understand it. She sent me an email. It's on the website where she says, we blasted this in GenBank because it shouldn't be, and it didn't match anything. Have you discovered a new species? That's some of the feedback that we got. And, we had everything from people freaking out and getting mad and everything else. But we got our results. On the electron microscopy, the university that actually did the actual images, when he found out what it was, he threatened to sue me if I used his lab or his name in it. So I just took the data and went to the head of department at Texas A&M for the same. He just does the same thing, and he's the one that did the analysis and wrote that part of the paper. So it was quite something to go through all this, and even worse to try to get it published because government doesn't want it out there.
I want to ask you, you said that you wish you'd never ever got into this because it ruined your career. What do you mean by that?
Well, for instance, I testified in court a lot on criminal cases, And we did pet death penalty cases. We did Innocence Project cases. We did all types of forensic cases. And they would get me on the stand once it got out that I was doing this, and there was a bunch of lies that were put out about me also. And they would say, "Oh, you believe in Bigfoot?" I'm under oath. Well, yeah, we actually did a study on it, and they're real. And then the defense or whoever was asking the question would laugh and look at the jury and get them to laugh. So it discredited me before I could even present anything. So it killed that part of my career completely. So, it ruined the lab, and it ruined my reputation. So I couldn't do it anymore.
Okay, so why do you think all of these anthropologists and other scientific people whose job it is to discover what is new out there were turning their backs on one of their own who found something that is new? That doesn't make sense to what science is all about.
Oh, I can explain that. The day we published, every one of my co-authors got threatened with their job or harassing calls that say, like, "I can't believe you would hire or you would employ a forensic scientist that believes in Bigfoot." It was so horrible, and they had families to support, that I said, "Look, I'm first author. This is my fault. Send them to me. Don't talk to anybody. Just send them to me and I'll handle it." So that's why I'm the only voice out here for it, because the other people, worked at different, some of them worked at government facilities, and, others, were in universities, and there was even a pathologist that was an MD. And so, these people were going to lose their jobs and their livelihood, and they had families to support. And, I was the one that started this because of my weird findings. And I was first author, which is the corresponding author. So I took the fall.
Man.
These were my friends. I wasn't going to let them suffer.
It sucks when you have to take that bullet.
Yeah, but I did. I had to. It wouldn't have been right to let them take a fall and lose their jobs.
Looking back at it then, what would you have done differently?
Not done it. I wouldn't have done it.
Why?
Because I'd have rather had my lab and my livelihood than to lose everything because of a research project, even though it was interesting.
And yet all of the evidence proved to show that there is something out there. And nobody
absolutely.
looked at it.
Absolutely. I mean, and I've seen them, this was interesting. All the people that actually, experiencers, they would come forward and beg me to go out with them so I could see one. I finally did, after they just kept harassing me until okay, I'll go see them. And I saw 5 that day, and it changed my life forever. It was mind-blowing.
Take us back to that sighting. Take us back to that sighting and explain what happened that day.
Well, we started out in broad daylight, and we were standing by a draw, and on the other side of the draw is all forested. And there was this black, I mean, I don't know how many people are familiar with Matilda. Her picture is on my website. She's one that it's a Chewbacca mask. It's not, but one that looked just like her, that was black, that had a whole haired face, was peeking at us from behind a tree. And then it just vanished so quick that we all jumped. It was just gone. It moved so fast. And then later that night, the people that knew these creatures, they went over to the fence line where the woods started and were, I guess, mind speaking with them. And they waited till they came up, and then they invited me over there to see. And I was scared, I'll be honest, but I wasn't scared the time I got there. Can't explain it. And then I was to the right, just slightly to the right from where I was standing was a mother that had twins that was in a little hollow, probably about 20 or 25 feet from us. And they had eye shine. Their eyes emitted light. It wasn't reflected light. And the mother was standing behind them, and the two little twins, you could see them interacting with each other. They would turn and blink and turn to each other and then blink and look at us. And it was really fascinating. And they stayed there for a long time, probably, 15, 20, 30 minutes. And we just sat there and stared at them. And when I turned back, there was a great big male directly in front of me. And I looked at the tree he was standing in front of and to where the top of his head was, and I visualized it so we could measure how tall he was. Turns out he was 8 foot tall. He was almost 4 foot wide. He looked like a linebacker. And it was interesting. I couldn't make out it. It was night by then. It was a full moon, though. I couldn't make out his features real clearly, but he had no hair on his face because his face shined in the moonlight. And he's standing there, and I'd reached to the other person. I was going to say, look, after us staring at each other for 3 or 4 minutes. And the minute I moved my fingers, he just was gone really quick. So, I'm not going to go into how they do this, but he was gone. And the other thing I saw, which was interesting, was a juvenile that this patch of woods had on the other side, there was a security light at another house. And it was a big grove of pines and stuff. And so there was kind of an area underneath it. It was so thick that there was really no grass. And most of the trees didn't start until they were about, 8, 9 feet tall, where the branches started coming out. And I saw a juvenile run, and he ran so fast you could not see his feet moving. I laughed and kind of giggled to myself. Those of you that have seen the Twilight movie, when they put the actor on the wire and he's carrying the girl up the mountain, that's exactly how it looked. It's like the legs were spinning. He was leaning forward, and he was just like, gone so fast. I've heard that they can go 45, 50 miles an hour. And I know somebody who got chased by one that went that fast. Well, I can guarantee you, I saw it go so fast that it was almost like a cartoon where the legs would be spinning and you couldn't really see them. So, yeah. And shortly after that, they came out to me personally. So, yeah, I've been around them.
What is your impression of this creature? Peaceful, docile?
They're individuals. There's all types. So you really can't. There's those that'll kill you. There's those that'll frighten you. There's those that'll make nice with you. So each one's an individual. You have to be careful because of that, unless you know your clan. Unless you're sure you're dealing with a clan that won't hurt you. I tell people never go in the woods by themselves, ever. And there's other things out there besides Bigfoot anyway. There's Dogman and Goatman and Mothman, and the list just goes on and on and on. And that's what, we're doing with this Cryptid project. We're going to do a little more Bigfoot, but then we're going to move on into these other cryptids. I've already got 2 Dogman samples. One of them's completed. The other one I've got to complete. And if it matches the first one, it's going to be really interesting.
Dr. Melba Ketchum is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I can't wait to get into the science of that, because I am someone who has experienced Sasquatch on a few occasions. And I am somebody who has also, seen a lot of paranormal and supernatural events as well. Do you think that this phenomena is individualized between the creatures, or do you think there is some bridge that kind of connects it all?
Oh, I think they're all going to have human mothers, is what I think. That's what I want to prove. I think that they'll all have mitochondrial DNA that's human. And that comes from the maternal lineage.
Like an XX chromosome?
Yes, the X chromosome. Well, no, that's nuclear. I'm sorry. The mitochondrial DNA, which is in the cell, it's the energy producing organ in the cell, little organelle. And it has 16,000 bases of a loop of DNA in it. And when the egg is fertilized, there's a lot of these in the egg, in the cytoplasm of the egg, not in the nucleus, in the cytoplasm. And it's an energy producing organelle. It produces energy for that cell. And when the sperm enters, they have, sperm swim, and all of their energy producing mitochondrial DNA is in their tail, where all the action is moving, because that's where they need the energy to propel themselves along. And so when the nucleus or the head of the sperm enters into the ovum or the egg, the tail falls off. So the egg only has the mother's mitochondrial DNA, and that's why you can trace it down through the generations. And then of course, then the sperm, which contains the nuclear DNA, half the complement. Same with the egg; they join together, and then you have a whole fertilized egg, which will then grow into an embryo. So, but what's interesting, you have something, it's a different type of thing, but you can do the same thing with the male lineage, for humans at least. Well, I mean, you could do it elsewhere, but it's been developed in humans. Something called YSTRs, and that's on the Y chromosome. And you can trace the Y chromosome is the same for like you and your father and his father and all the male lineage, and it goes back just like the mitochondrial DNA does. So we actually, worked with that in the paper, in the project, to try to pin down what the male fraction is, and it's unknown. It didn't work. So it's been a really interesting ride on this. Nothing works like it's supposed to with them.
Where do you even go from there? So we got about 2 minutes to go before we go to break at the bottom of the hour. Dr. Melba Ketchum is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Dr. Melba, the idea that these creatures could stem from humans, especially female humans.
Well, they do stem from female humans. There's no doubt about that. That's been proven not just by my lab, but 2 or 3 other labs, 3 other labs that are even mentioned in the paper that got human mitochondrial DNA before we even did it. What we did different, we went after the nuclear DNA, which is the mother and the father's DNA that's in the nucleus of the cell. So that was where we advanced the study, was by doing that.
So what would be the fathering part of this?
What do you mean, what is the fathering part of this?
Where's the sperm coming from?
Well, we don't know because it's unknown. And, I really think they're genetically engineered, from what I've seen of the results that I haven't released yet. We had the whole genomes analyzed after the paper. We just did a portion of it because it takes a while to get all this done. And you have to have a bioinformaticist to do it and all. So we did not have time to get all that done for the first paper. So we came in and afterwards and got a bioinformaticist to do it. And, the findings were really remarkable. And we actually were able to prove the hybridization theory in the paper visually, because the electron microscopy of the DNA showed single-stranded gaps, meaning, DNA is supposed to be double-stranded, and it's like a ladder that's twisted. It's called a double helix.
Yes.
And we had single helix DNA, let's put it that way. Like if you cut the ladder in half, and what that was, it was where the DNA did not align with the female DNA, didn't necessarily align with the male DNA or what have you. It was a gap that showed hybridization, because in a naturally occurring species organism, you're not going to have gaps.
Dr. Melba Ketchum, hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Dr. Melba Ketchum, Sasquatch Genome Project is what we're talking about tonight. She doesn't do many interviews, so you're going to want to listen to this one again and again when it hits the podcast form. Spaced Out Radio, second half hour, returns right after this. Stay tuned. All right, we are clear. Our YouTube audience and our podcast audience will still be able to hear us, but our live radio will not.
Okay.
So we get to sit here for 5 minutes and kind of just twiddle our thumbs and, smell the roses.
Okay.
Are you
We can
having
do
fun?
that.
You having fun yet?
No, interviews are never fun for me.
You're doing great, though. You really are.
I mean, I can do them. I don't like all the attention. I don't like being a quote celebrity or whatever. I'm just a regular person. I don't
Hey,
look. I don't
I
look for any kind of praise or fans or anything else. I'm just a regular person, private
hey,
person at that.
I got a face for radio and a voice for print, and I have to put my ugly mug on this YouTube thing each and every night. You're doing perfectly right now. Perfectly.
Well, I don't want my face up because I've had so many death threats and stuff, and I don't want people recognizing me.
Oh, that's all right. I'll take the heat. I'll take the heat. Big thank you to Hi Asimov. How you doing? And who else has come in here? Uncle Bones. Good to see you again. And Margie O. Nice to have you here. Aaron Heisner. Nice to have you back. Let's see who else has hopped on in here. Hi Blue Cruz. And Eva. Nice to see you again. The amazing Kira. And just so you know, we got a lot of new listeners in here tonight. Excuse me. We are, if you've never listened to us before or hit subscribe or whatever, we are hi Osman B. We are a hybrid between a live radio show as well as a YouTube and podcast format. So we have to take breaks at the bottom and tops of the hour. So that way we time out with our radio station broadcast. You guys get to see the behind the scenes of everything that we do. We would appreciate it if you gave us a thumbs up, thumbs down, commented after the show, and hit subscribe and rang that bell, because we are here for you 7 days a week here on Spaced Out Radio. So thank you so much for tuning us in tonight. And who else jumped in here? Adam Robbins, nice to have you back. And Eva again. And who am I missing? I know I'm missing somebody. Horace Louie. There you are. Ryan Smethurst, how are you? PhD from Miskatonic University. What's your degree in, Ryan? What's your doctorate in, I should say? Jim Nicholas, nice to see you. Says Dr. Melba Ketchum is the GOAT. That's a nice compliment right there. Let's see here. Where are we? So far, so good. We got about 2 minutes, Dr. Melba. 2 minutes. Dutch UFO, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Magnus Vermagnuson, nice to see you back. And Dennis Burns, welcome to SOR. Friend of Melba's, first-time listener. Thank you so much. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button if you will. John Boucher, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. Lots of newcomers here tonight. Skip to Malou, how are you, my dear? Ross Smith, thank you for coming on in. And War Criminal, nice to see you. Oh, thank you, Markham. I appreciate that. Yeah. Make me look like a weirdo. Mm-hmm. 1 minute, Dr. Melba. We want to say thank you to Long Island Bigfoot, Louie, Deb, and Nancy H. for the amazing super chats. The super chats are a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. And yeah, if you want some SOR swag, we got it. Spacedoutradio.com. You can check it out there. Got all sorts of goodies there for you. Goodies. Kentucky Boy 22, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. Lily Pond, nice to see you. Chad Kitchen, welcome to SOR Chat. Let's see here. Who else do we got? Prince Arcane, welcome to the show. Cleveland, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. And follow what Jules put in the chat room. These are the rules of the chat room. And here we go, everybody. We are 5 seconds away. Let's have some fun here. And here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Dr. Melba Ketchum is our guest tonight on the Mighty SOR as we are talking about Sasquatch Genome Project. What kind of cryptids are actually hiding in the forests of North America and around the world? She doesn't do many interviews. This is the first one she's done. She's only done 2 this year with Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio, who you hear on this show for the Cryptid Report, and now us. We're very glad to have this opportunity, Dr. Melba Ketchum, to chat with you tonight. Are you there? Hello. Well, we lost her signal. Oh, maybe not. There you are. Dr. Melba Ketchum, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Because we can hear you. Oh, there we go.
I'm
There
sorry.
we go.
I had a little technical problem.
That's okay.
That's okay.
We got an
echo
here.
Good.
Okay. Am I still echoing?
No, it's me.
No, it's me.
Trying to
Figure it out.
Okay, we'll do it this way. Dr. Ketchum, when you are, going through the sequences of DNA, how do you start that process for those of us who are not very familiar with the subject on finding DNA of a creature like Sasquatch?
You do it like any other creature. To be honest, I mean, nothing changes as far as the actual protocols of testing. And we didn't do just sequencing. We did STRs. We did short tandem repeats. We did a bunch of different types of DNA testing. So, basically, I guess to make it easy, most of it is that you extract the DNA, you put it through the polymerase chain reaction to amplify the DNA enough that you can see it, and it's tagged with a fluorescent dye. And then it's put onto an automated sequencer, which will either give you a sequence or it'll give you a peak. You can also use, in some cases, for simple tests, like to see the quality of the DNA, you can just do an agarose gel, which is basically kind of like Jell-O, just so people can understand. And you've seen maybe on forensic shows the little holes in it, and you take a pipetter and you put the DNA in the little hole and you apply electricity, and it makes the DNA move and separate sometimes, depending on if it's something you're testing that you want to separate, or sometimes you just want to see the quality of the DNA, which gives you a clean band. And all of that's in the paper. People can go to SasquatchGenomeProject.org and see all these pictures and read it. It's it's technical, but I think probably the conclusion isn't too technical. Most people will understand that for sure. But it's got pretty pictures, and it's the different types of testing. They can see the way it looks. Go ahead.
At one point, did you, in your research for this with you and your team, did you start to see a sequence forming that this was no other creature that you've ever studied before?
I saw that the minute that we did the species analysis test, and it was non-human hair giving human results. I knew we had something then. I just couldn't believe it, but we had it right then. And the samples were from a eyewitness sighting, and the other one had left footprints as it went into a cage of peacocks, and it sat there and killed the peacocks and plucked them, and then left with the carcasses, left the feathers, and they just tore through the chicken wire to get in there. So, there was good evidence that these were probably potential Sasquatch samples. And then they tested like nothing ever. And then we even had another surprise on top of it. And that was that we found out that the hair shafts, not the root, the hair shafts of, like, shed hair doesn't have a root, and it leaves just the hair shaft. That in Sasquatch does not yield DNA. And we spent 3 months getting to the bottom of that. And that's something that's unique to them, because every mammal, unless it's a itty tiny baby fine hair, like a newborn child or something, they're all going to have it easy to get DNA from the hair shafts. And this didn't happen. And we spent 3 months, me and my second author, trying to get to the bottom of this as to what was it, an inhibitor keeping it from reacting and amplifying, or was it no DNA? And it was no DNA we ended up finding, and that's just not normal. And so that was a pretty big deal. And it was interesting that in the psych study, which there's a lot of holes in it, but they had 7 samples. They only used hair shafts to run the samples. And they had 7 samples that didn't run, and he said he didn't know why, even though he had read my paper and had a conversation with me. He claimed he didn't know why. And those 7 samples had come from my study. They were sent in by people that had sent me here. So it corroborated, yes, on that at least.
The Sasquatch hair that you were testing, was it much like deer hair, where I believe deer hair is hollow, so that way the creature can, or the animal can survive in colder and wetter temperatures, because the water just kind of rolls off instead of gets sucked in by the hair. Was Sasquatch hair much the same way?
No, it looked like horse mane hair, basically. About as thick as horse mane hair. Most of the hairs were 4 to 6 inches long, and they were wavy, had a natural end, so they hadn't been cut. And they had a medulla. They looked like most every other mammal hair, except for, the actual morphology, which is, shape and size, and that's what hair analysts are for. And we had a very good one that compared these samples. We screened the samples before we started testing them. And he went through all these samples, and it seemed that all of them had this particular appearance about them. So they were unknown, but yet, the changes between species are subtle, though. They probably resembled bear hair closer than anything, but they weren't bear. They just, as far as, the microscopic morphology of them. But to me, just looking at them, just looking, they look like horse mane hair, about coarseness, and some horses have wavy mane hair. So that's just my easiest thing. We don't have bears around here, so that's my closest thing I could say. But I'm not a hair analyst. That's why we had a hair analyst.
Is there any animal out in the forest that we know of outside of human that this seemed to resemble?
I said the closest is a bear. That's what it resembled the closest, but it wasn't bear. That's just, but if you have all these knowns, it was closer to bear than anything else, as far as, the length and the morphology of what he was seeing. That's what he told me anyway. But they all pretty much look the same. I can relatively identify it myself now at this point just by looking at it. Because it looks, there are some that are longer, a little longer hair and what have you, but I only had one straight hair that tested out of all of them that tested as a Sasquatch. So all the others were slightly wavy, and like I say, 4 to 6 inches long generally, and about as coarse as a horse mane hair. Way coarser than human.
What other samples of DNA did you have? Did you have any skin samples, scat samples, any skin from footprints that may have been ripped off?
We had one from behind my property that was in a cast, as well as some off of a tree. We had another one, I believe, was off of a cast. I mean, it's been a while, so I'd have to go back and look at all of it. We had some blood samples. We had some, we had a toenail. We had a number of different types of samples. I prefer hair because you can wash the hair so well. You can put it in a vortexer, which is like really fast. And you can wash that hair and jiggle any cells that are contaminants off of it. So that gives the best samples. Like you can't wash blood or saliva, so you can test it to see if there's any other mammalian DNA in it, because these things are mammals, they have hair. But you're going to get some bacteria with that. I mean, it doesn't affect the tests we did, but you've got bacteria in your mouth, so you're going to have a little bacteria there. But it's not a contaminant in the sense of it's not going to affect your overall outcome because it's not another mammal. So, none of our samples were contaminated per se. None of the samples, what's funny is that was the big hoopla that everybody was trying to say, oh, it was contaminated. Well, a forensic scientist deals with contamination all the time, so we know how to deal with it. We know how to get rid of it. We know how to and it wasn't anybody in the lab, because everybody that worked in the lab had their DNA on file, so we could make sure they didn't contaminate it. We'd run positive and negative controls on the reactions and extractions to make sure there was no extra DNA. And then when we would, test it, if there's contamination, you're going to see it's like a overhead projector where you put down a transparency that's got a graph on it, and then you put down another one on top of it, and it overlays it. And that's what happens with these sequences. And I actually have a YouTube video on my Dr. Melba Ketchum YouTube channel that shows pictures of this contamination. I couldn't take it from the samples because they weren't contaminated, but I put a clean one on there from the study. And then I mixed some, I believe, dog or horse, I forget which, with human, and then sequenced with what they call universal primers, which will test all mammals. And when I did, you can clearly see each peak that is a different nucleic acid base in the sequence. A lot of them would have an overlaid base, so it's like two bases on top of each other. And that's contamination. So, nobody wanted to see my proof that I wasn't contaminated. They just were quick to jump to conclusions because it's not supposed to be out there.
Dr. Melba Ketchum is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Dr. Melba, I'm wondering about blood. Were there any blood samples taken? And if so, were you able to determine the type of blood it was?
No, we didn't go after blood type. We went after sequence. This was interesting because the Erickson Project had a blood sample from an individual they call Matilda. And they had already had it tested, the mitochondrial DNA, at NYU and at Paleo Labs. And we were the third lab to test it. All three of us got the same sequence, and it was human. Identical sequence. But what they did was it was all mito, and we went on and did some nuclear DNA on it. And there's a lot of people that really complain about that photograph of Matilda, and they say, oh, it's a Chewbacca mask. Well, it's not a Chewbacca mask for a number of reasons. Statistically, I can prove from that blood that not only does it match her red hair, but it also shows she's a female, and there was only 3 females in the study. And on top of that, the skin color is gray, and that's the skin color gene in these things, in these entities, is really different, so much so that if you make a pair of what they call universal primers, which will test for skin color across all mammalian species, they don't run on that. That means their sequence is so different in that gene that it is an outlier to all the rest of the animals tested. And with this said, she had gray skin, and she would not run on that test, which is none of them did. None of the samples ran on that test. So it showed that, I mean, the universal primers worked on all our control mammals and on people, but it wouldn't work on Sasquatch. So, there were a lot of interesting things about it, but that picture is as real as can be. I mean, you look at it close, you can see flaws in her anyway that's going to show you it's a real picture. But yeah, she looks like Chewbacca. And I've seen two that look like Chewbacca in daylight. So it's not that uncommon to have a haired face in these things. Now, what's interesting about this is that, everybody says, oh, it's Chewbacca. Who? Think about it. George Lucas either knew somebody that had seen one up close or he had seen one up close. Because if you go read the official story, he made Chewbacca from his dog. His dog's black and white with a long nose. How do you get Chewbacca from that? And how do you know to make it giant? And how do you know all these different things? So obviously he had some inside information on, Sasquatch to create that character. And he just admit that because they'll get made fun of.
Well, the funny part about that is when they were filming Return of the Jedi in the Washington State Forest, that they actually had to forewarn the actor who played Chewbacca not to wander off in the forest for a fear of hunters who might shoot him thinking he was a Sasquatch.
Absolutely. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, they exist in nature like that. I mean, I've seen it. Her picture bears out on the DNA. So, I don't care what anybody wants to say. They can say mask all they want. They're wrong. Very wrong. And her DNA overall, when we ran, one of the tests we did involved 2.5 million human point mutations. And none of them quite made the 97, 98% that they want them to have in order to be a viable sample. And so they have other things in them, in other words. But she ran just like the rest of the samples. She did not make, and she wasn't human. She didn't make the 97%. And so, it was, all of it was interesting. And she definitely is a Sasquatch, and she definitely has the human mitochondrial DNA, just like the rest of them. She's, but she's got the human red hair gene, which a lot of them carry. They don't carry the Neanderthal red hair gene. They carry the human red hair gene. It's fairly common. And she does. And she's kind of a deep auburn color. So interesting stuff.
I want to ask you, if you don't mind, because you mentioned that there is human DNA in this. If we go back in time prior to the finding of North America, First Nations people have been saying for centuries, if not millennia, that they have encountered this Sasquatch type creature. Now, if that is the case, how would they have been able to create this creature from just I guess what I'm asking, I apologize, I'm not a scientist, so I don't know the proper terms. No problem admitting that, Dr. Melba. But how would they have created this creature or found, female DNA inside of it, or human DNA, that is?
Well, there's a lot of theories out there. Some of them have, space people making them. Other theories that a lot of people subscribe to are that they are actually biblical creatures, because in Genesis chapter 6, it talks about, that the watcher angels came down and they chose women as their cohorts and wives, and they had children with them, which were the Nephilim. the men of old, the men of renown, they were giants. And this goes all the way through. And then, right after the flood, you've got, all of these tales. And it says that they were before then and they are even today, which, like the Kandahar giant, obviously, still giants around. There's a lot of military men that have come out and talked about that. And, the same with the Bigfoot. I mean, we actually put some pictures that came, before Christ. It was a coin with a hairy man on it that was basically a Bigfoot. And so they're historically have been around for thousands of years. I mean, probably one of the first written references, more or less, is the story of Enki, which was a wild man back in the Sumerian cultures. So, and I have a belief that, most people may not buy into, but I believe it. Having been so deep into this, if you think about it, the Greek, Roman, Egyptian, Sumerian gods, I believe they were all of these cryptids because, like Pan was a goat man and Anubis was a dog man. Anubis being the god of the underworld. And I even have a little saying that some people I'm sure won't agree with, but I say it anyway. I said, show mankind a little supernatural and he'll run after it and worship it. And, people get, I think unhealthily obsessed sometimes with Sasquatch, that they put it above their families and what have you. And I think they did that back then too. But they made them into quote gods that they worship. But it's a really funny thing. I think that mythology is kind of now, I think, based in fact that at some point somebody had encounters with these creatures and they did things that they didn't understand, and therefore they thought they were gods. And so, I find it very interesting. And it's one of the things I really want the new study, to hopefully address is I think that they're going to have human mothers in common. And if so, there's only two ways this could be. It's either going to be the biblical narrative or it's going to be genetic engineering by entities that are much brighter than we are. I mean, it's just now to the point in the last few years that we have the DNA technology where we can create hybrids. We did not have that before, and certainly not back years and years ago, back in the, a millennia ago, say. So it couldn't have been us. We couldn't have made them. So it pretty well boils down to either you can believe in aliens and believe they did it, or you can believe, in Christianity and the way they explain it with the Nephilim. Book of Enoch, explains a lot of this too. So, and looking at the DNA, there's genetic engineering present. It wouldn't occur naturally, but yet they are so well genetically engineered that they can reproduce. And that is not normal for a hybrid. Most hybrids, like mules and ligers, which is a lion and a tiger, they're sterile. And this is not the case. These things have children. I've seen them. So, there's a lot going on here. And, it's going to, I'm just going to do the science and let everybody else go fight over what they think and what they believe. But it's a very interesting thing when you're confronted with it as to how they came to be. I mean, I personally have some information that I won't share because it's personal, but, I know what they are. And so it's interesting.
Dr. Melba Ketchum, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are through hour number 1 of this 2-hour special with Dr. Melba Ketchum tonight on the Cryptid Genome Project, talking Sasquatch. We're going to get into a little bit of Dogman DNA when we return with Dr. Melba Ketchum. And, of course, the audience questions. I know you're lining up. I'm going to get to them as soon as I possibly can. If you're in one of our chat rooms or on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio, stay tuned. Hour number 2 of the Mighty SOR coming up right after this. Dr. Melba, I'm going to keep you on mute right now, and I'm just going to step away, take a quick break, and then we will be getting ready for hour number 2 in just a couple of minutes, okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
And there we go. I'll be right back. I'm going this way. All right. Are you there, Dr. Ketchum?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. We got you. That was a fast first hour.
Yeah, there's no, I mean, I could talk for days on this stuff. So it goes pretty fast.
Oh, yeah. Matt Geek, how are you? Good to see you. And who else is new in our chat room? Pixie Lara, thank you for the super chat. Very much appreciate your love, Lara. Along with the scowling Greg O'Brien, Kira, Uncle Bones, Nancy, Deb, Louie, and Long Island Bigfoot. Thank you for the love and support. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. And let's see, where else are we here? We got lots of questions here, guys. Hi, sweet Tony D. Good morning to you in the United Kingdom. And let's see what else we got here. Try and put your questions in capital letters. Bruce, I got yours. But if you can put them in capital letters, it makes it much easier for my stupid eyes to read, because they don't like small letters. Derek, well, the Rangers spanking the Devils. Evan Walters, you know what happens when you arrive late. Yep. Marlena, good evening to you. We got about 45 seconds here before we come back. I can't be president. I'm Canadian, Shade Viking. All right. 30 seconds. Spaced Out Radio's chat room is a great place to support us. Don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell if you're new here. We'd really appreciate it. We are like 5 away from 22,000 subscribers. We are 5 away. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Help us out. We are here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. And soon we will see most of you in Las Vegas next month. Here we go with hour number 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. And what do you got for us tonight, Clam? Quadriga. Quadriga is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Dr. Melba Ketchum, the Cryptid Genome Project, as we are talking the science behind the cryptids and do they truly exist. Dr. Ketchum believes they are out there, so beware when you are out in the forest and never go in the forest alone, because you never know what might be lurking behind the trees. Dr. Melba Ketchum, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio.
Thank you.
Want to ask you right off the bat, you said earlier that you also have DNA of this legendary Dogman creature. Tell me about
that. We have a couple of samples so far. We would welcome anybody that has hair samples with roots to submit, so we'd have more than 2. We got one of them completely tested, whole genome and everything. I've said before, and I've not kept a secret of this, that their mitochondrial DNA is human, just like the Bigfoots. And the second one is an interesting sample because it actually came from close to Skinwalker Ranch. And we've already got the mito back on it, and it's human too. So we lack the whole genome on that one. And that's going to be one of the first things we do with this new project we're doing, the Cryptid Genome Project, in order to see if they're the same. And there's some interesting findings on that first one, and it's going to be interesting even more so on the second one. So we'll see, because it was hit by a car, 1,000-pound wolf. It just ran off, but it left some hair on the bumper with roots. So we've got good samples. So it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to doing that so much. And so far, it tends to support my theory that they're all going to have the human mito.
What do you think this Dogman is?
It's a hybrid, just like the rest of them. They're all, I think, going to be human hybrids. All the cryptids. And It's just what the nuclear side is. And I think, there's going to be unknown there, just like all of them. But once again, they're genetically engineered. So that's interesting, because you never know what else is going to be there. So it's going to be a fun project to finish this up. I don't want to say a whole lot until I'm got everything confirmed. That's why the second genome is going to be done, to confirm the first one. But I can tell you it's really interesting. In fact, I think all of these are going to be very interesting.
Do you think there is any correlation between this Dogman creature and what people would call a werewolf?
Oh, I think that's where the tales come from. I think that a werewolf is nothing more than a dogman that somebody has seen. I mean, some of them are fierce, and so they, are capable of harming people. And I believe that the werewolf legend comes from that. It's really interesting, the history on Dogman. Marco Polo writes of a city of dogmen that he came across. And there's a YouTube video of a Catholic monk, that he wrote. It wasn't quite a scientific paper, but it was really an expose about a city of dogmen. I guess it was somewhere in Europe, probably. But he describes how they communicate by barks and growls, if they don't speak a language like we do, that they're fierce, that they were good fighters. But they had a whole city and were somewhat civilized. So very interesting stuff. And I don't think these people would just make it up. I mean, there's too much detail there. I love that Muck's, discussion of them, because there was a lot. He was very, he wasn't emotional about it. It was like science, basically, the way he just, okay, they're this, and this is how they do this. So I encourage anybody that's curious about Dogman to go find that video, and I think you'll be shocked, because it is really interesting. And then, like I say, you can also look up Marco Polo's adventures and find where he came across it also. I mean, these are two people from two different cultures, and they both basically had the same thing happen. They found cities of these things. So interesting stuff. And then, I think they've been around as long as I know they have, because look at Anubis, which is the god of the underworld. He looks like a Doberman Pinscher on the head, and then he looks like a man. You can look at all the Egyptian hieroglyphs and various arts that depict him. And to this day, if you look at most of the pictures that are available on these things, they have erect ears. I mean, I'm not saying that all of them have erect ears, but most of the pictures denote that they have these erect ears. So they're not all that different from Anubis. That's what I'm saying. I think there's a certain amount of truth in these different mythology stories. I think that these gods are actually cryptids. I think that's where the stories came from. I mean, there's stories about goat men. There's a goat man that allegedly lives 10 miles down the road from here. And I mean, some of the best people you'd ever want to know, and honest and straight, normal people have seen this thing. And, there's, of course, Pan. I mean, I saw a sculpture of him in Pompeii. It's a goat man. There's nothing, it's plain and simple. So, like I say, these things have been around. They continue to be around. They're going to be here till the end of the earth. They will. Because that's just, nothing ever really changes. History repeats itself. And you're looking at history here with all of these. So, it gets intriguing, to say the least.
One of the things that I find intriguing is the fact that, so many of these creatures, like you said, are being seen by normal, everyday people who have nothing to gain by this adventure. They have nothing to do. They just want to know, what is it that they saw? Now, when it comes to Dogman and Sasquatch, were there any in the preliminaries DNA and genome testing, were there any relations between the two?
I'm sorry, repeat that, please.
Was there any relation in DNA or genome between Sasquatch and Dogman?
The fact that they both had human mothers, yes, and they had unknown DNA in the nuclear part on the sample that we've already got done on the nuclear DNA. So yes.
Well, that's very interesting. Now, for any creature to survive, it has to have a breeding population. When you look at that part, how many of these creatures do you think are actually out there?
I'm sure thousands, just like the Bigfoot. I mean, there's a lot of them, but they're masters of disguise and disappearance. So seeing them is quite random. But yeah, there's a lot of them out there. And it's on my YouTube channel too. I kind of did it as a Halloween thing because I didn't think anybody would believe me, but I think they will now. We had one here, and my farm help, he was standing in the middle of the road coming down to my house, and he was upright and tall, and this was a military man. He wasn't scared of anything, and the thing jumped into the air, he tells me. Now, this is not my story. This is his story. It jumps about 30 feet in the air and vanishes. And so when he gets down to the house, he's like shaking all over, all shook up. It just scared this man so bad. And this is not a man. He'd been in Desert Storm. He'd been in all these, conflicts. And yet here he is. I mean, just terrified. And then I saw it running across the pasture the next day. I wasn't real close to it. And it came to a fence where it had to turn right or left. And all of a sudden I couldn't see it. And so, it's interesting to say the least. And that night, one of my dogs got murdered, and it was done in a most horrible, it was almost like an alien, cattle mutilation, in that the dog was in a pen that he couldn't have got in when I found him. There was a ring around his body where the grass was black. It was done. He looked like he had a post-mortem on him, because the legs were disarticulated and laid out flat, and the whole top side of the body was gone. Like the upper rib cage was gone, and all of the abdominal musculature was gone on the upside, so you could just see where all the organs should be, except all the organs were gone except for the stomach, the downside lung, and I think the heart, and the urinary bladder. That was all that was left. Everything else was gone. And it was like where the ribs had been chewed off. It was like a straight line, like a knife had done it, except that you could tell it was slightly shattered at each rib. And I saw a couple of tooth marks on it. So, it wasn't like they used a laser or used a knife, but the precision of it was unbelievable. And there was no blood, zero blood. And that was bizarre also. So, it freaked me out. And then they, there's stories around that they'll rape animals sometimes. And I had a mare that was not bred, and she actually had a bloody discharge from her vagina. And when I looked at her hocks, she had kicked at something so hard and hit stuff that she had bloodied both of her hocks from kicking. So she got raped. That's the only assumption you can make. And it all happened the same night. So
we also hear stories of horses having these braids put in their manes and tails.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's actually even a scientific paper on that somebody wrote out of England. I have a copy of it. And they're talking about spirits doing these mane braids, that they call it spirits doing it. And my horses have mane braids all the time, off and on. And, there's people that, it's just the wind that makes that and all. I got news. It's not. I got one. I have not shared this picture openly yet, but I will at some point, that it had the most beautiful, it was fancy, it was gorgeous. It was they twist two strands of hair, and then at the bottom in a V, that's where they do the braiding. And this one had 3 large flat curlicues of hair that looked like, a nautilus, I guess, or cinnamon roll. They were twisted in a way and flat, and there was just enough teasing of the hair to make it hold together perfectly. And I have never ever seen anything like that. And it was their favorite horse, by the way, because they'd come riding, and they dealt a lot with that horse. They liked him, and when they were coming, he would nicker at them. He liked them. So they had quite the thing, and they did this just absolutely stunning mane braid on him. And of course, I took a lot of pictures.
It's funny. I talked to one of the ranchers around here, and I actually asked point blank, because we have Sasquatch in our area, and I asked point blank, have you ever found any type of braiding in the hair? And around here, they call it fairy braids, but it almost looks like a dreadlock. Yet other people have cut out braids that are very intricate and look like it's been done by a human.
Yeah. This was very intricate. I've got others that are pretty plain. I had one that had a little, excuse me, it had the braid regular size kind of at the end of the V, but then at the very bottom, it had a itty tiny little, about as big as my little finger braid, not even maybe that big. And it was very perfectly braided. So it had a little tail, which was interesting. And I've seen pictures of people have ones like that. But I do recommend people go and Google mane braids and see. Actually, I may have a link to it, or I may have it on my website. I can't remember for sure, but there's definitely a scientific paper on it. So it's kind of fun. I mean, obviously they didn't have a lot of data other than they couldn't be man-made, or they couldn't be naturally made, I should say. But the thing is, nobody's coming to my place. I have a lock gate. I have security. Nobody's going to do this.
Well, let's get to some audience questions here, because they are jammed right up right now, and I want to try and get as many questions in as we possibly can. Dr. Robert Steers, MD, who listens to this show, thank you, Dr. Steers, for tuning in. What type of samples did you end up with? How does the genetic analysis compare to Neanderthal genome?
Okay, we went after the Neanderthal genome because they look so much like them morphologically in a lot of ways, except Neanderthals are very short. And we did some specific testing. And since a lot of these creatures have red hair or carry the red hair gene, so does Neanderthal and so does human. So we took that locus or that place in the DNA and we went after it to sequence it to see if they had any Neanderthal in them. And all of the red-haired carriers had only a human red hair gene. The mutation was human, not Neanderthal, because they're at two different places on that particular sequence. The mutations for Neanderthal are not located in the same spot as those that are human. And every one that carried the red hair that we tested had only the human mutation. So, and whenever we did, and I'm going to go ahead and give a little result here, this little fun thing, when we got the entire genome mapped out and we know what's in it on all of these whole genome samples we did, there was no Denisovan or Neanderthal at all in the samples we did. I think if they have anything from Neanderthal or Denisovan, it's going to come from the human DNA.
Wow. All right, let's continue on. Let's go to Pammy. Where does the male DNA come from, in your opinion? Unknown Earth sources or off-worlders or both?
Okay, I'm sorry. You had a feedback that I could not understand your question.
Okay. Pam is asking, where does the male DNA come from, in your opinion, Dr. Ketchum? Unknown Earth sources or off-worlders or both?
Well, the human part obviously comes from here, but in the nuclear DNA, where there's a lot of unknown, there's that's going to be a war of the worlds, because there's people that are going to think, that the unknown part is, from, say, aliens. Christian people are going to think it's from, the Bible. They're going to come from the Watcher Angels, indirectly through, coming down into the Nephilim. There's going to be several theories out there. And it's just going to depend on people's belief system. I mean, I'm a Christian, so actually, I tend to believe the biblical narrative. And if all of them have the human mitochondrial DNA, like I think, that's going to help support that through the Bible and the Book of Enoch. But otherwise, I mean, I'm sure that aliens know how to genetically engineer. I just know humans aren't capable of it. So, or they are now, but I'm talking about in years past. So, with that said, and the fact that they reproduce, it was a masterful job of genetic engineering. So take it for whatever you want to take it for. I mean, everybody's going to have their own belief, and I'm not trying to make somebody believe one way or another. Everybody's going to have their own opinion.
All right, let's continue on. Let's go to Eric. Do you think the matrilineal line is going to be Native American?
No. Most of the lineage came out of the Middle East and Europe. And Europe was a follow-up. The Middle Eastern DNA spread into Europe. So the majority of the samples were T2, which is Middle Eastern.
Okay, let's go to Desert Rat. Did the Dogman DNA samples come from separate geographic locations?
They did. The two I have are across the country from each other, pretty much. I mean, they're all over, just like the Foots are all over, the Sasquatch are all over, so are the Dogmen. In fact, there's even a story, if you Google St. Christopher, now the Catholics do not believe this, but all of the Orthodox Christian faiths actually believe that St. Christopher was a dogman. And the story goes that he carried Jesus across a swollen river, and he wanted to be good because they were not good. And he was rewarded by God by giving him a face that was no longer a dog. He was given humanity, and he became, a saint as a result, because of this interaction and all. And I'm not making this up. Y'all can go. There's a bunch of tapestries from the Middle Ages and everything else that has this story. So there's a lot to this. It's not just something, I mean, it's historical. They've been around as long as the Bigfoots, I'm quite sure.
All right, let's continue. Let's go to where are we here? Jenny. In the last, that's a note to our listeners. Never mind. Let's go to Cleveland. Dr. Melba Ketchum, we got about a minute to go here, and Cleveland wants to know, where was it where you had your Bigfoot experience?
North Texas.
Right by Louisiana.
No, North Texas is where I had my first Bigfoot experience.
Oh, very
kind of
nice.
Kind of close to Paris, Texas. Sort of close there. Mount Pleasant. Between Paris and Mount Pleasant.
Very nice. Very nice. Is that where all your experiences happen?
No, they happen anywhere and everywhere. They really do. I mean, it's like they show up. It's funny. I mean, Robin, I'm sure when you have her own, she can go into more detail on all of that. But once they attach, they're around.
I hear you there. And Robin is one of the best at it in the business. That is for sure. Dr. Melba Ketchum, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We have Dr. Melba Ketchum for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. We are going to continue with our audience questions. There's so many, and you guys are so smart. We're going to continue with that. And then in hour number 3, we head to the swamp and then Robin McCrae will follow up with the Cryptid Report. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Awesome. I'm having so much fun here tonight with you. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope I didn't cross the line with my face, but they keep asking.
No. Yeah, I always give everybody an opportunity to make their own choice.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what I said. I mean, they're going to believe what they're going to believe. I have my beliefs, and other people have other beliefs.
Derek wants to know if the U.S. government can clone humans.
Absolutely.
It's interesting stuff. All right. Big thank you to Derek for that second super chat. Or his first one of the night. Hold on. Yeah, that's number one. CS, thank you so much for the love and support. That great super chat as well. Very much appreciated, along with Long Island Bigfoot, Louie, Deb, Nancy, Uncle Bones, Kira, Scowling, Greg O'Brien, Pixie Lara, Anita, Gizmo. Thank you so much. Very much appreciate it. JSCO, how you doing? Good to have you back. Skip to Malou, she's talking to herself. That happens sometimes. And let's see here. I think we'll have enough questions now. All right, there. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate that, man. Can't wait to hang out with you in Vegas. Tickets are still on sale if you want to join us for Las Vegas. Just go to spacedoutradio.com and hang on out there. Get your tickets. The VIPs are sold out. We're already done with them. They're sold. They're done. But you can still get tickets. I want to see all you guys there. We do. Forrest Louie, thank you for that second super chat. We very much appreciate the love, man. Thank you. Maggie M16, thank you for your super chat. Very much appreciate that. All the way from Australia. Thank you. The U.S. Senate committee hearings on UFOs starts at 7:30 tomorrow morning. My name, how you doing? No, you don't get free tickets. You got to pay. Double for half. For being a flat earther, you got to pay double. Yeah. And let me see. I do have a link. If you guys want it, I do have a link to the hearings tomorrow. Where are we here? Right here. Copy that down for tomorrow, and you'll be able to tune on in. Nathan from the Quantum Show. How you doing, buddy? Where's Rob G tonight? No Rob G tonight? You get so used to seeing Rob G. Dr. Melba, we have just about 90 seconds.
Okay.
90 seconds.
Do you want me to do anything?
I want you to be comfortable in your chair, maybe have a sip of tea or water.
Oh, I got me a soda. I have to, or I get too dry.
I know the feeling. I have 2 glasses of water and a glass of iced tea in here.
Well, I'm a Texan and I'm a Dr. Pepper person, so I got to have my Dr. Pepper Zero. Those are good.
I don't even know
Got
if we
some
got
caffeine too. I don't drink coffee, so not a coffee person.
Me either. Me either. Well, that was a loud noise, but that's okay. All right, we have just under a minute. Thank you again, Dr. Melba, for doing this.
Oh, you're very welcome. I mean, I don't really like interviews, but once I do them, I'm okay with. Once I start talking, I'm okay with it. I just,
You always have an invite on here in case you want to spread some love and information. How about that?
well, there'll be a time for that, and I plan on it in the future. Doing a lot more interviews when the new research comes out,
Right.
because I do want to spread it everywhere. I'm not going to do another scientific paper because the government isn't going to let it be. That was a whole nother fiasco. So
Yeah.
we'll do it by media.
Perfect. Quickly here, Bomber says to you, just want to thank you, Dr. Ketchum, for your courage, honesty, and integrity. It's greatly appreciated and means more than words. Here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Final time tonight, we bring in Dr. Melba Ketchum from the Cryptid Genome Project, where she is testing scientifically the existence of creatures like Sasquatch and Dogman. Dr. Ketchum, thank you so much for being here. We're going to continue on with audience questions, if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
All right. Derek is asking, Dr. Melba, is the government still harassing and bullying you and your research team?
Yeah. Yeah, they've stopped documentaries. They have threatened people that were working with me. We had a government operative outside our lab at one point. It was a small town. Everybody knew everybody, and everybody knew when there was a weird car and a weird man sitting out there and parking where nobody parks. And so we approached, and boy, he took off. I mean, peeled out of there. So I don't know. He's probably had a parabolic mic or something, was recording everything that was being said in the lab. But yeah, no, they're not done. I'm hoping they're busy enough with the Ukraine that they'll leave us alone this time with this research.
Awesome. Let's continue on here. Let's go to Nikki in Seattle, who is asking, have you ever tested a blonde Sasquatch before?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had some blonde hairs. We did.
Is there any difference between the hair colors and the samples?
What do you mean the difference? They're all just Sasquatch hair, and they all run genetically, similar. So, doesn't matter. I mean, they're like us. They have different hair colors and skin colors just like we do.
Perfect. All right, let's go to Nancy. Where was Matilda found?
Kentucky.
Awesome.
There's a whole family, and there's footage of all of them. I've seen it.
All right, let's go to Love v. Love. Are there any pygmy blonde Sasquatches running around?
I've been sent some pictures of a group of little people, allegedly, and a couple of them look like Sasquatch. And they're in the Native American oral legends. They speak of these little tiny Sasquatch creatures. So they probably exist. I mean, usually if there's a tale about it, there's going to be some truth in it somewhere, just like I was talking about the mythology. So yeah, I'd say they probably exist.
What is your thoughts on the little people?
Little people are going to be, I think, another cryptid. They probably have a little more human in them than the rest of them. I think that'll be true for the giants and the elongated skulls also, to be honest, because they are more human looking. However, there's a lot of Native American legends about them, that they're tricksters, and they're all over the world too. They're just different names. There's little people here. There's leprechauns in Ireland, and a really interesting little article I came across where they had actually found a little tiny house in the rock that had little furniture and little shoes and everything, and it made quite a big splash. I think until the government shut it up, but it was actually some students at a university, I believe, that or if they didn't discover it, they were studying it, and they had pictures of the little items and stuff. It's really interesting.
I had a friend of mine have an encounter with them where they tried to lure him into the forest.
Well,
And
go ahead.
were
I'm sorry.
They were mimicking my voice, saying, help me, I'm over here, I'm in here.
They can, all of these cryptids I found can mimic sounds like nobody's business. One of my friends actually, they interacted with a girl at a habituation site, and he heard them calling her name even. And she was right there. So it was, nobody was calling her name. Nobody was out there except the Sasquatch. And they had perfected saying her name.
Yeah, that one tripped out my friend. He never went in the forest. He got the hell out of Dodge. And
smart thing.
him and I both believe that if he actually would have followed my voice into the forest, because I was 20 minutes away, and he said that if I would have followed that voice in, I don't think he would have came back. I really don't think.
Well, I tell you how much they can copy things. Also, have a certain call that I call my cows with, and I was getting some cows. My neighbor was with me, and we were getting some cows in that had gotten out. And I had called them a little bit, and we were not very far apart. But a little further away in some trees, all of a sudden I hear myself calling cows, and it was good enough the cows answered. It was the Sasquatch doing it. They were mimicking me. And they did it at another time too. So yes, they can absolutely sound like you if they want.
Scary times. Scary times.
Yeah.
All right.
Scary,
Let's go to Tony here in the UK. And he says, hi, Dr. Melba. I've heard about Sasquatch having hollow hair, that when a small voltage was put through it, it did some strange stuff. Is this true?
The hair's not hollow. It has a big old full medulla in it. As far as putting any electricity through it, that'd be interesting to try. But, I think, possibly my theory, it's just a theory, is that frequencies control a lot of what we see with them. And so, I don't know. I don't know what electricity would do to the hair, but no, it's not hollow at all. Big old dark medulla in there.
All right, let's go to Bruce here in the chat room. Has science found the sequence that determines brain size? No matter size, Bigfoot has, are they less intelligent than Homo florensis with tiny brains that made chipped stone tools?
Honestly, I think how the brain is used is more important than the size. A lot of people talk about that, and no, we haven't done any genetic work on brain size. We did do some different genes that were specific to humans, and we got a kind of a little bit of a mixed bag of results there, which would be common because they're hybrids. When you have a hybrid and the DNA recombines, like say the sperm from the male may have more human in it than another one. So you can get different. That's why they're so varied. Their appearances are varied. Everything about them is varied, just like people. Even worse, though, because you're going to have those that some have more human, some have less human. Some are different, have different traits too. So, they're all individuals, and you need to realize that. And like I say, they don't have as big a frontal lobe as we do, which makes them in a sense less than human. But in other ways, I believe they're way more intelligent than us. It just depends on what you're looking at.
Well, they are masters of camouflage. That's
for
for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
What else do you think they have mastered outside of their environment?
Oh, a lot of things. I mean, I don't want to go into them because they just stick the label of woo on it, and anybody that has dealt with it is considered crazy. But there's a lot of stuff I've seen that I can't explain, just tons of it. And, there's no way to scientifically really prove it either.
Give us that one little piece of woo that interests you, because I like the woo. I need a woo fix.
I really don't want to talk about the woo. I already gave you an example. I saw him just be gone instantly. That is not possible. Faster than an eye blink, and they're gone. No sound, no movement, just gone. I personally think they're able to change their vibration or their frequency. That's what I think. That's just a very, very rudimentary, stupid scientific idea. I have no way to prove it. Other than if I was in one of their areas where they had done this and could somehow, have frequencies measured in the area. But, getting in one of those is not very easy. I know a couple people that have, and it's not healthy if you do, because their frequency is not healthy to us. I can tell you that much.
Love is asking, how do you explain their ability to cloak?
I just did. I think it has to do with them changing their frequencies.
Beauty.
But I have no way to prove it. It's just I've thought on it. How could they go away that quick? And that's all I could come up with. I mean, there's other, I'm sure, theories out there, but and there could be several ways they do it too. So I'm just throwing that out as a possibility.
Nathan is asking, what about salt lamps? Salt lamps emit ions and alter the environment slightly. Do you think this would affect the ability to detect them? Do we know if it's been tried?
I don't know if it's been tried. I don't know if it affects them or not. I kind of doubt it, to be honest. I think it'll take more than that to cause any differences. But that's just my humble opinion. And I don't know. I mean, there are no experts on Sasquatch. I'm an expert on DNA. I am not an expert on Sasquatch. Nobody is. You can ask Robin, you can ask any of the other people that interact with these things, and they will all tell you that there is so much unknown about them that nobody is an expert. If they claim they are, it totally discredits them.
Awesome. Okay, let's continue on here. Mennonite Abe is asking, Dr. Ketchum, are you saying that Bigfoot is a human creation then?
No, not at all. I already explained what my belief is. Others will have other beliefs, but I already went into that.
All right, let's go to Donna. Do you believe in mind speak, that they have that ability?
There's enough people that have experienced it that I believe so. I do.
Yeah, that's some freaky stuff right there.
Not so freaky, really.
We had last year, we went to our area, and my buddy Mark, who, in the area where we go, Dr. Melba, there's a lot of animals that can kill you out there. We got grizzly bears, black bears, wolf packs, giant moose, mountain lions, everything that just wants to tear you to shreds. And he got mind spoken to that if he would have brought his gun out of the vehicle, that there would have been something bad truly happen to us. It was freaked him right out. Well,
I have a friend who carries a gun everywhere because of the said creatures, and the clan he works with say it's fine because they know he's not going to hurt them. So
we're trying to put out that intention, because I do believe they could pick up on intention.
Oh, absolutely. Well, if they didn't pick up on intentions, now think about this. As many people as we have running around in the woods trying to find them, seriously, don't you think somebody would have been able to corner them if they didn't know they were coming?
Very true. Very true. Let's go over to Space Cow. Do you think sky-based aliens are connected to this somehow?
Well, that's one of the theories that the aliens, actually genetically engineer these things. That's one of the theories. Depending on what you believe aliens are, depending on a lot of things, that's why I said everybody's going to have different theories. Mine follows the Christian standards because I'm a Christian. I believe they're, either offspring of the Nephilim or there were at one point Nephilim, and some may still be. But, that everybody's going to have their own belief system. That's mine. But it could be, people that believe aliens are doing this. Of course, there's people that believe aliens are demons too. So, it depends on the person. And since it's something that is not real tangible, these things they can do, it's impossible to know because we, as Earth people, as regular human beings, we can't see into other dimensions. We can't, and that's been proven in physics, that there are multiple dimensions. And we can't travel through dimensions like that. And there's so much out there that we don't know and everybody's going to have a different way of interpreting this data. So I think everybody should grab what they believe and just hang on to it. And we can agree to disagree, or, I just like for people to be nice to each other when they have a differing opinion. I mean, it's not Gigantopithecus. I know that by the DNA. And because Gigantopithecus is a precursor of an orangutan. And, so we didn't find any orangutan blood in them or DNA. So therefore, I can shoot that down, but there's still going to be people that believe it, and that's fine. As long as they're not ugly to people like me or people that believe the star people did it or whatever you want to call an alien. I mean, there's everybody's going to have a different opinion, and we're all entitled, and we should be nice to each other about it. Agree to disagree.
I agree with you. Let's go to Digger Dog. Melba, do you think that you personally have a link with Sasquatch?
Oh, I know I do. I didn't, but I do now. There's no doubt.
How do you feel about that?
I'm okay with it.
Because
I'm fine with it. I'm not afraid of them.
I know, but it kind of goes against the grain of science, does it not?
Yes. Of course it does. That's why I avoid talking about this for the most part, because it's hard to reconcile the two. But then again, I was asked once on another program, how can you be a scientist and a Christian? I said, God made science, and we're catching up. So, it's all these different ways of putting things, and, whatever you believe is fine. Whatever they want to believe. This is how, and this woo, I've seen enough to know at least there's some. I've experienced a lot of things I don't talk about.
Oh,
and they've come to me. That's what's crazy.
I now want to have a private conversation. I need to learn your woo. I need to learn your woo.
No.
I have a real bad addiction to woo. I really do. And I
didn't ask for this. I did not ask for any of this.
I know. None of us do.
It just happened.
None of us do. Yeah, until Robin McRae gets in your life and screws it all up by communicating with them, telling you, oh, they're waiting for you. By the way, hurry up, Dave. Yeah, I blame Robin McRae for a lot of that.
Well, there's others like her, too, that confirm a lot of what she says. So don't be too critical there.
Oh, she's amazing. She is absolutely amazing, and I love her to death. Let's go to Shade Viking. Are the men in black spying on you?
They have in the past, and they have threatened people around me. One poor guy got caught in a men's room by them and said if he loved his family, he would never speak to me again.
Well, that's not very nice and polite.
Another one, it basically he opened the door and government officials rushed in, and he had a sample for me, a Dogman sample, and they told him never to speak to me again. They went straight to the freezer and took it out and said, illegal game, and took it, threatened him. So, yeah.
All right, let's go on. We got a couple more questions. We got about 4 minutes left with you tonight, Dr. Melba Ketchum. Let's go over to Brown Dwarf. Doc, do you believe that Sasquatch or any cryptid creature can cloak and disappear?
I've seen it. For lack of a better way to put it, I can't explain it any other way because they did it so fast. That's what I'm saying. They do things I can't explain. I can't explain how anything could disappear that fast.
The whole cloaking thing is just amazing to me, how Mother Nature can just blend the creatures right in. You know, I know we have been on logging roads looking for anything, and you know, you see the nose of a deer poking through the trees, and you see nothing else because it just blends into the environment so well. I mean, it's amazing what nature has done to give these creatures a chance.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go to our final question from the audience. From Blue Cruise, is there any truth that it is impossible to cut Sasquatch hair?
I cut Sasquatch hair all the time. I'd cut the roots off to use to extract. That meant cutting the hair.
All right, we'll sneak one more in here. Let's go to John. Any idea about their eyes' ability to glow and shine in the dark?
Well, I don't know if it's luciferase, which is something that like different creatures like octopus use to change colors quickly, or what it is, but their eyes do emit light. It's not a reflected light. I've seen it. And it changes color with their mood too. If they're angry, it's red, or worried or upset. And if they're just curious, it's, you know, almost white, kind of a greenish cast to it. And there's all colors in between, depending on what they're doing and thinking and feeling. At least that's what I've been told. And I have seen the eye shine. And I know my phone accidentally turned on one time and it went red immediately. So I didn't like my phone.
Do you believe then that this, okay, I'm trying to put my head around this for a quick second. So it could change its eye shine colors, because I've always been taught that red eyes are not good on any creature. Yet with Sasquatch, mainly people have seen it with yellow or white eyes.
Well, I think it has to do with their emotions. I mean, that's what has been mind spoken to my friends. And, you know, I kind of experienced it because, like I say, my cell phone lit up when I was standing looking at my clan leader, actually. And his eyes were almost a whitish green. And the minute the screen lit up on my phone, they went red, and then he vanished. So he was not pleased.
Dr. Melba Ketchum, we have 1 minute left with you tonight, and I want to say that this has been just a great conversation with you, and I very much appreciate how special this is for you to actually do an interview these days, because you've been so busy working on your own research. Tell everybody
on my books, actually.
Tell everybody where they can find your information.
They can go on Facebook. It's under Melba Ketchum and Dr. Melba Ketchum. And same with Twitter, Dr. Melba Ketchum. And so, you know, I pretty well just do the Facebook and Twitter as far as, and I have a Facebook public page also, Dr. Melba Ketchum. So, you know, and on YouTube, I have Dr. Melba Ketchum also. So pretty odd name. So I'm pretty easy to find, along with all the garbage that's been said about me.
Well, I want to say I very much appreciate you coming on the show. It's been an absolute lightning fast 2 hours, and thank you so much, and we hope to do this again with you.
You're very welcome. I enjoyed it. Good night.
Good night. Coming up next, We're going to head to the swamp, and then Robin McCrae is going to fill in for Super Duke for the Cryptid Report. More Spaced Out Radio coming up in hour number 3 next. Stay tuned. Wonderful show there, Dr. Melba. Thank you so much. I think she's gone. Yeah, she gone. What a great show. What a great, great show. Man, that was fun. Thank you to Robin McCrae for setting this up for us. And we'll talk to Robin here momentarily after Swamp Dweller. I will be right back, and we'll get things going. Stay tuned, everyone. We got another hour to go here on the show. All right, we are back. We got about 90 seconds. Robin McCrae is all ready to go. She's staying up late for us. We love Robin around here. Yep. One of these days, she's, while we're interviewing her, I swear she's going to all of a sudden have a Sasquatch appear over her shoulder and say, "Hey guys, what's going on?" I swear it's going to happen one day. I hope at least. Joe Ferreira, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. A man in Mexico right there. It's good to see you guys here. Thank you so much for this amazing attendance tonight on the show. Really do appreciate that. Jeremiah, I apologize I didn't get to your question. Sorry about that. Mike Bothwell, how you doing, man? Good to see you. If you haven't already, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. We have passed 22,000 subscribers tonight, so thank you so much for your love and support of Spaced Out Radio, and to our super chatters tonight: Long Island Bigfoot, Louie ×2, Deb, Nancy, Uncle Bones, Kira, Scowling, Greg O'Brien, Laura, Anita, Gizmo, Derek ×2, CS, Maggie, and Human Carl. We very much appreciate the love and support, guys. Thank you so much. Makes it very easy for us to do this each and every night for you here on the Mighty SOR. And if you want, head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and you can get some Spaced Out Radio swag. We got some great gear in there for you. Here comes hour number 3, everyone.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Quadriga. Quadriga is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. All right, it is that time once again where we head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller takes us on another creepy journey.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. Before I start writing, I want to apologize for my bad grammar. I'm terrified and writing fast. Almost about a week ago, I watched videos about the different layers of the internet, such as the front web, which everyone uses, and the dark web, which takes some time to get into, etc. Well, I wanted to see how far it goes. I work with computers and code, so I know my way around them. To a certain point of hacking and breaking down, it really just comes with repetitive codes and passwords that seem to never really end. Now I work from home and have plenty of extra time on my hands, so I keep going. Finally, after multiple endless nights, I go to a blank screen with a timer counting down. Just a blank white screen with the timer counting down from 1,000. I waited for it to hit 0. When it finally did, there was a message with an answer box underneath. The question read, "Why?" I was confused, and it didn't seem to work, no matter what I put in, until I wrote research. The page buffered and brought me to some sort of website. It was an ugly yellow background with red smoky faces all over it in weird patterns. Weird, I know. I tried clicking on the middle of my screen, and it took me to a video. There is a video of 3 men walking through a strange-looking woods at night, and they each have a very dim flashlight. I watched this for probably 20 minutes, but nothing happened. So I continued watching these videos, and they got consistently stranger. One of a man was swimming in what looked to be water, but it was highly thick. Swimming next to him was a skinny, glowing fish. Another video was on a headcam, running through what looked to be some sort of abandoned hotel. They were chasing some sort of tall, pale humanoid creature. Eventually, the beast got lost and the man started hyperventilating. The video ended there, but the longer I watched these videos, the worse they got. There was a 10-minute long video of a wall with blood oozing from the cracks, and a starved-looking man being fed a strange, giant hairless dog. It was hard to watch. At the top right of my screen, I saw a smiley face. It was different from everything else. The color was just off. When I clicked on it instead of a video, it gave a question. Ready for the second layer? And then there are 2 buttons, yes and no. I didn't know what to do. Eventually, my curiosity took over. I clicked yes, and it took me to a similar page. There were 4 heads on there, and instead of smoky red faces, they were replaced with white pictures of people's faces. 4 looks in a circle. I clicked on the first. I had no idea what was about to happen. It was a creature, but I can't for my life describe it. It moved in ways that weren't possible. There were colors I had never seen before, and noises my ears couldn't comprehend. It put a feeling of overwhelming dread and anxiety into my body. I grabbed the laptop on my desk in my backyard, stomped it, smashed it until there was nothing left, no way it could be tracked. Eventually, I had to leave my room to shop for food. In their supermarket, I swear I was followed by tall, slim people. I don't know if I should call them people. They were shiny and pitch black skin with no face. No one else could see them. And maybe I'm just paranoid. I'm hiding in my room again. I can see the people outside my house passing by my windows as I write this. I don't know what I did, what I found, but I'm terrified. And I wanted to write into the show to let people know there are some strange and downright creepy things on the internet, and they don't want you to know about it.
That's why we love the Swamp Dweller around here, as he joins us each and every Monday through Friday night to kick off hour number 3 here on Spaced Out Radio. If you want to hear more stories just like that one, all you got to do is head on over to his YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads, and you can get more. From the swamp to the forests of the United States of America, here comes Robin McCrae with the Cryptid Report. Super you, the Cryptid Report with Super you. Yeah, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio on his way down to Nebraska for a giant Bigfoot conference. So Robin McCrae is filling in for him. So we got Team Robin on tonight. Robin, how are you doing?
I am good. Great show. You guys did awesome. And thank you to everybody. You guys were so kind to Melba, and that means so much as far as the support for the project. And one other thing I want to say is I was over at Beyond BMR, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and then Text Front Porch tonight, and they had Stephen Hill on there, and I was watching because Stephen's a friend of mine, and they said they were going to come, and I saw a lot of their people over there in the chat. So kudos to those guys. It's a great show over there. It was really kind that they showed up as well.
Well, you know what? It was so much fun, and we thank you so much for lining that up for us.
Oh, definitely.
Show. I mean, you get all the credit for bringing Melba out of her home and into the public eye once again. And
Yeah,
I'd want to interview her
she's
for a
back.
long time.
Yeah, she's back. She, I don't think it's easy for her to have to come out right now just because of what people put her through. But I'm so immensely proud of her because she did it. And when she felt like she was ready to do it, the first thing I said was, Duke and Dave. I know she's safe over there before I recommended it, because at least I wanted her someplace where it was safe and she didn't have to go through what she got put through before. So I thank you so much, Dave, for having her on.
Well, you know what? We enjoyed it, and I enjoyed every minute of it. She's got a lot more woo than she wants to admit to.
Yeah, you have to understand that it's not that she doesn't know. It's that right now she's working on a project that is a scientific project. So in order for the integrity of the project, it has to stay scientific. Her opinions on the woo can maybe be at a later time, but for right now, she's got to be the good doctor and scientist.
I hear that. I hear that. But I mean, just the knowledge that she possesses regarding this. I mean, I can see where it is a little controversial, because saying that the DNA comes from the female or human females, that's scary.
Yeah, and I think I want to kind of clear up something, if I might, because there were several people that I saw in the chat, and they were very kind. Nobody was not nice. But I think they got the impression that it was the only way to get another Sasquatch is for a human female and a male of the unknown. I mean, you have to understand the Sasquatch are breeding on their own. They don't need help from us. But in their genetic DNA is on the female side seems to be predominantly where the human's at. So it's not necessarily they're going up to somebody's door and grabbing their females and going out and having a baby. But on that female side, that's where all the human is at.
Oh, I know. It's kind of amazing to think that this creature could be from us.
Yeah.
I mean, but the question is, how long ago from us? Does this go back to Egyptian times? Does this go back further? Because Anubis is quite a respected creature back in the Egyptian days.
Well, in the DNA study, it was 15,000 years that she tested. So whether or not that's with all of them, I'm not the scientist. I don't even attempt it. But in the study, what she did test said 15,000 years ago, if I remember correctly.
That's just amazing. Just amazing, and I'm just, this is a show, and I'll be honest with you, Robin, I don't go back and listen to a lot of my shows because I always have to prepare for the next one. But this is one where I am going to have to go back and listen to it a couple of times just to get everything that she said, to try and understand what it is all about. I did find it interesting that she stated, that these creatures can be dangerous, and that you don't want to mess with them, and and that's like any wild animal. But if we're not talking about an animal here, but we're talking about something else, I really don't know what to think here.
Well, I think we need to understand, first of all, they are a type of people. They're not our people, but they are a type of people. And even with our people, there's some of us that you can't be around because it's not safe. We have murderers, we have rapists, we have pedophiles, we have schizophrenics, we have all of these things that are our people that aren't safe, that we can't be around. That's why so many are in the jails and in the prisons. It's not any different with them. They are not all good. They are not all bad. Predominantly, I feel that they're good, but the bad ones, and I've said this before, the bad ones are lethal. You have to look at this and say, all of these cryptids, good or bad, have got abilities, and this is where she couldn't go into it because of the woo factor. They have enough abilities in them where we don't stand a chance. We just don't. They have chosen, for the most part, not to do anything to us, but there are some that will, just like, you see it on TV or in the newspapers every single day of this person killed that person. It's not any different. They're a type of people. But they were quite excited when she was on. They were like running around the house. They had a couple slaps on the house, screaming and hollering in the backyard. They were excited. They love Melba, and I've said this before in your show. The only reason I met her was because before the study was done, they told me to find the woman that was doing the study and that I was supposed to help her. And I said, I can't help. I'm not a scientist at all. Not even close. They said, no, find her, help her. I went through a friend of mine who knew somebody that knew Melba. and told him, and I said, just give her my number. I am not going to be that person that chases her around. She's probably getting enough of that. And she called me and I said, I don't know what I can do, but I'm here. And so I started helping her with various things, not the science, of course. And we've been close ever since. She's family to me. Absolute family. I'll always have her back. Number one, I know she's accurate. I know she's right. The cryptids confirm her findings. And she's one of the kindest, dearest person I've ever met. And, for all the things that people say about her, she's got more integrity than most people will ever dream of having. And her intelligence is unbelievable. Like, I listen to her talk, and this is things that people don't realize. When you actually listen to her speak, 9 out of 10 people, that's all it takes. When she opens her mouth and starts talking, it is from then on, she's legit.
I love it. I love it. And, I can see this even getting bigger and bigger once again when the next study comes on out. I mean, that's really what it's all about. I mean, I always wonder, though, and you know me, and we've talked about this privately and publicly, do we really want to solve the Sasquatch mystery? Do we really want this blown out of proportion, like we've seen the idiocy start to happen in the UFO world? Do we want that Sasquatch?
Years ago, if you had asked me that, I would have said, absolutely not. Leave him alone. But it's come to a point now where they want to be known, not because they want to sit down and have dinner with us, but because they want to be allowed to live their lives without being shot at and hunted and killed and mocked and be called monsters when they're not. And so now it's come to the point where we actually need to. There's millions of them. We're living on this planet with all these cryptids that the government's made sure nobody knows anything about, and enough is enough. Just like we need to be able to protect ourselves from the bad of our type humans, we need to know that from them as well. But even with the good ones, they want to be allowed to live their lives. And so I think whether years ago we wanted it to or not, now's the time. And when she started it before, they were in full support. They were the ones that told me to find her and to help her. And like tonight, they were out here screaming and hollering and shaking the bush. They were all happy. They weren't upset at all. And as soon as she quit talking, I've heard a couple of them moving around in the bushes, and off they've gone.
Well, you know what? It's something where it's going to be one of those interesting little things that happens. I mean, do we really, really want to socialize this creature? Because I'm a firm believer that the minute that we do publicize that this creature is real, that there is going to be a bunch of, trophy hunters out there looking for a Sasquatch head.
Oh,
and
yeah.
only make the situation worse.
Yeah. And, they already are. And I think that from the standpoint of the Sasquatch, it's like, what else can they do at this point? They tried to stay quiet. They tried to stay hidden. We still hunted them because accidental sightings happen, and they do make contact with some humans of our people. And so they're out there. And now, because we can't prove that they exist, it's gotten to the point where they're almost in more danger. I think we're going to have people out there trying to gun them down no matter what we do. One of our laws will not help them. They cannot function in a world like us. They just can't do it. It's not going to happen. They don't understand our ways, just like we don't understand theirs. But if we at least know that they exist and are more, I'm a believer in knowledge is power. And for the longest time, I wanted it to be just kept quiet so that nobody would harass them. But you know what? Being quiet didn't protect them, because everybody was so curious. It was like curiosity killed the cat. So now we have all this information, and who knows what it's going to happen. I worry about that every day. But the thing of it is if somebody doesn't come out with this information, nobody's going to stop until it does. There's too many people that have had sightings, too many people that know about them. Somebody's got to do it. And, when we tried to do this study years ago, and she was so attacked, and she had death threats, I had death threats. We were followed. I had helicopters over my house all the time. All of these things happen, and it happened to her worse than it did me. And it came out and nobody could believe it. If it would have come out an animal, then everybody would have been happy. But it didn't come out what they wanted. And here's this woman that came out of nowhere and virtually blew it out of the water. And everybody said, oh, we can do better. We can do better. Where's the evidence? Because there isn't any. Anybody that's tested it comes back as part human, and then they blow it away because they don't want to believe it. DNA doesn't lie. I'm not a scientist. I can't write on the head of a pin what I know about science, but I know that DNA cannot lie. There was more labs than just her, as she stated earlier, that tested this. So then what do we say? All the top labs in the country are corrupt? No. Eventually, the truth is going to be what it is. And when she started this, she didn't care what the truth was. She just wanted the truth. She fell into it accidentally. But now all this time has gone by, 10, 11 years, and nobody's been able to duplicate what she's done. Any testing they did came back the same thing, came back with human in it, but they never pulled genomes. They never moved forward past that. And I think she just finally got to the point where everybody's asked her and asked her and asked her, do I think this is what she wanted to do with her life? Probably not. But she wants to move on with her life. And she's the only one that knows how to do it at this point. And people get mad when I say that. And they say, oh, well, this person can do it and this person can do it. Okay, why didn't they? If they could do it, why didn't they do it? So she's just to the point where she's going to finish what she started. And I thank God that she's doing it. I mean, I learned from her all the time. The Foots have told me forever, since I was a kid, that their hair is hollow. That's why, they blend. They blend into any color that they stand by. Tonight, Melba, was saying, no, it's full, it's thick. So, okay, so what's in that medulla that is allowing them to blend? Because they still blend, and I believe are 110%. The ones that I asked are like, no, there's nothing in there. That's why we blend so easily. Well, clearly there is something in there because she's done the DNA study on it. So now there's something in there. But what is so different about that medulla opposed to ours? Because they can blend in. And I've got pictures of it, as well as many other people do. What is it about that they can blend with that medulla in there and turn into any color that they want to, that they're standing in front of? I mean, the endless possibilities that these things have, it can't be matched. And as many people as they're now contacting, the cat's already out of the bag. Protection laws aren't really going to help if we try to do them in accordance to our rules for our people, because they're a different type of people. So now that's going to have to be rewritten. But, it's going to happen either way. And instead, I think the hope was that over the last course of these 10 years, things are going to die down and life would go back to normal. But people still want answers. And at some point, they're not going to stop till they get the answers. But I do agree with you that it's going to go crazy afterwards, too, when they have them. It's a catch-22. There's a no-win to this situation. I've protected these guys my entire life. I've devoted everything to them. And I would do it again in a minute. But it's just one of those things that, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
I hear you there. We have about 90 seconds, Robin, before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Robin McCrae filling in for Super Duke on the Cryptid Report. Is there anything that you do not agree with Dr. Ketchum's study?
I think the only thing that we have ever really not agreed on, and it's one of those things, we've never gotten into disagreement, never. We don't have that relationship where we fight. We can talk about anything under the sun, and if we don't agree on it, it's okay, because the other person is entitled to their opinion. So we've never had a quarrel. In my personal opinion, they are not Nephilim. And the reason why I get that is only because when I ask them, they get very irate about the fact that they aren't. In her opinion, there's a very good possibility they are. But again, she's coming from a scientific background where I'm coming from a background just of speaking with them. I may not share that same belief, but I certainly 100% respect that she has that belief. I could be wrong. She could be wrong. We're not, I don't know. But that's the only thing that we've ever really not been 100% in sync. And I don't think we're 100% out of sync on it. I think we're both are like, we really don't know. We really don't know. That is my belief based on what they have shared with me. but I don't disparage her from having the belief that she has it all. I mean, that's how we learn, is with people having different beliefs. And I think everybody has a right to that belief, as long as you do it kindly. And we don't have anything that says either way.
And on that note, Robin McCrae, we will get you to hold on here for just a few minutes as we head on out for a commercial break here at the bottom of the hour, our final one of the night. Robin McCrae on the Cryptid Report, filling in for Super Duke for World Bigfoot Radio. Find out about Sasquatch next on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear.
Yeah, we pretty much, her and I get along on everything. I mean, we really do. She's just absolutely brilliant. You know,
Yeah,
she blows my mind daily.
I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that. That was pretty stellar, to say the least.
Yep. When all this went down with the study and it at the end, and it got so bad, and like she was saying, you know, people's livelihood were threatened, they were threatened. And she had called me and she said, "You got kids, get out. I don't want to see anybody hurt. You know, I don't want you to go through this." And I just told her, I said, "You're stuck with me. Deal with it." You know, I'm not going anywhere. And that's kind of been the motto. I mean, and she's there for me every bit as much as I am for her. She's a wonderful human being. I'm so blessed that she's in my life. She's family, you know, and it's just, it's very sad and it's unjust what was done. But now we move forward and we, you know, try to continue on the path.
I can see that. I can totally see that. You know, and I'm happy that you trusted us with her.
Oh yeah, like I said, you guys are the only ones I could think of that I mean, she didn't want to do any like smaller podcasts, because I have friends that have podcasts like Tom Cordos, you know, Rob. I mean, there's a whole list that I could go through that I know would be very kind to her, but that wasn't the avenue that she wanted. She was very specific if she was going to do this. And you know, you and Duke, I knew she was safe with. You know, I'm not sure if she'll do more shows after this. She might come back on with more information because she felt safe there, but we'll see. I think she had another one that she wanted to do, but it was kind of out of the Bigfoot field. But yeah, I mean, you guys are amazing, and I'm so grateful to you, because when I called you, you didn't even hesitate. You were just like, "You got it," you know. And Duke was the same way. Like, you guys are just the best.
Mm-hmm. I think that's great. That is great. We've got about 1, 2, 3 minutes. We're halfway there. We're halfway there.
Yeah. And Duke's already on his way to Nebraska. So he'll get there before I will. I leave tomorrow, but I won't get in until tomorrow night. And next year you're going, so I can't wait. I get to book your flight. Taha.
I will be there.
Yes, you are on the roster. And I will know all your plane information before you, because I'm the one that does all the booking.
I love it. Yeah.
Make sure your hotel's ready for you and your plane. And they sent me pictures from Nebraska tonight. Harriet McFeely did, and everybody's starting to filter in, and they're all having a pizza party, so they're all having fun already.
Mm-hmm. By the way, thank you to everybody. We just hit and surpassed 22,000 subscribers tonight.
Wonderful.
I'd like to add about 200,000 to that by the end of the year, but I don't know if that'll be possible. But thank you for the love and support, everybody, for everybody who's hit subscribe tonight to get us over the mark. That's kind of cool. And once again, we start again to 23,000.
Yeah, I called Duke first and asked him about the show, and I said I had already planned on getting hold of you, and he said, "We can call Dave," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know." So I couldn't think of any better places to put her, you know. And before I even got a chance to tell Duke, he's like, "Yeah, dude, you got to call Dave. You got to call Dave." And I'm like, "Oh, I will. Trust me."
That's old Super Duke right there.
Yep.
You know, somewhere he has a cape.
I know he does. He's probably running around in it when he's at home by himself, so we can't get photos.
Is Duke? Excuse me. Iced tea went down the wrong tube. Is Duke coming next year to Nebraska?
I don't know. Harriet doesn't usually have people speak more than once or twice. And like this year, I wasn't supposed to speak, but we had enough people that wanted me to, so I am. I don't know yet. I don't know if he's going to come or not. Like right now, he's not scheduled to. But if I can find a place to put him, if we aren't that jam packed, then I probably will try. I know everybody loves him. You know, we'll see. Like I said, we've got our list of speakers already for next year. Yourself, Sibylla Irwin, we've invited her, Rob Kreider, Blaine Tyler. You know, I mean, we've got a good lineup already going on. Harriet's got some people that she wants to get invited on that will be absolutely incredible. And so, yeah, we're going strong. I would love to see him there next year.
All right, Robin, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. Thank you to all our super chatters tonight. Very much appreciate the love. And if you haven't yet, give us a thumbs up. Here we go, everyone. Rounded third, we're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Robin McRae filling in for the vacationing Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. He's on his way to Nebraska for a giant Bigfoot conference this weekend. Robin, thank you so much for filling on in.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me. I always love coming on here.
Oh, yeah. We love it. We love the fact that you are here. I got to ask you, okay, because my little guy, I had to call you about 10 days ago.
Yeah.
Because my little guy actually got mind speak.
Well, your little guy has abilities.
Yes. But let's explain this for a second. He actually got mind spoken to one night, and they, whoever they are, said, if you come out to see to the area, our Sasquatch area, it wasn't trouble. How did he word it?
I thought he said that he could be killed.
No, he didn't say that.
I can't remember.
It was something along the lines of something nefarious would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I immediately got a hold of Robin and said, you know, what's kind of going on here? Because he was adamant, we're not going. We can't go out there, Dad. We just cannot go out there. So we had to call you.
Yeah. Which, you can do anytime, day or night.
Oh, yeah. So what causes that? Explain that situation.
Well, I think when I had talked to them, and it was that group that was out, that you normally go out in that area for, and they were concerned for his safety. They said that, there's some things that had moved in there, and there were children that were there. They were bringing children through there, and that it wasn't him, it wasn't you, it was the time that they needed you guys to just stay away for a couple weeks, and then it would be okay. And it was a warning. And I think that's important because, they could have not said a thing and had a bad situation happen and someone gotten hurt, or he could have been terrified, but they're very child oriented. And in his case, he has abilities. I think they're just starting, and he's probably always had them, but they're getting stronger. And a child is very easy to get mind speak to because they're already open. They're not pre-programmed to shut it down. And so that's where they chose to give the message to. And like I told him, I said, this isn't a bad thing, because I know he was frightened. I don't blame him. I would have been too. but I wanted to reassure him that, no, this was a good thing because they care. This wasn't a bad thing because they wanted to hurt you. This was a good thing because they care. They didn't want you to be in a situation that could be harmful. So, and I was so proud of him because he did the absolute right thing to do. He went with you with it so we could get it hashed out and find out what was going on.
Well, the good news is we can't get in there yet.
Yeah.
We've driven by the area a couple of times now just to check things out.
Yeah,
and the snow is still quite high.
Well, they mentioned something about they would be taking the children through there, and they were concerned about the children being there, but that something else had come into the area, and they were concerned about that. And while it wouldn't be out looking to hurt you guys, it wasn't the safest. But like I said, they brought up that the kids were going to be there, and so that was just not the time. But, I think it was important because he was able to find out that as frightening as it was when he got it, it was okay. They were trying to be helpful. And he
Yes.
totally did the right thing. So hopefully it put his mind at ease a little bit.
Well, I think it did. And it's funny because last weekend we went through for a drive through the forest, and he was adamant, Dad, we can't go yet. Remember? And he calls you the lady. And he goes, remember, the lady said that we're not allowed to go yet. They don't want us there yet. And I said, we're not turning onto the logging road. I said, don't worry. We're not, we're going to respect that. But what was weird about that entire night, I've driven this road probably a couple hundred times now since I've been up here. And there was one certain area where we just got freaked out. Like all of a sudden it was like, Robin, it was like, I got to turn around now. Yeah. Didn't even get close to our destination, but I just felt that if I went any further, something was going to happen that I couldn't control. Didn't want to go.
That projection of emotions is a form of mind speak. And it was during that time period where they said, not now. Even though you didn't go down to the one part, you were still on the logging road there. So that was just a subtle way for you to be turning around so that you don't get put in a situation that you shouldn't be in. And I know it's frightening when that happens because, people don't know, are they going to plan to hurt me, or are they trying to help me? Because like in Duke's case, they did that to him one time, and it was because there was a bear. And they wanted him away from the bear. And then when they talked to your son, it was because it wasn't a good time and they didn't want him to be scared or frightened or anything. So when they did that to you, it's very possible if they wanted to have hurt you, they would have come out and attacked the car. They didn't do that. They gave you that message subliminally so that you would turn around and then go away from the situation, which you did, and everybody was fine.
Well, it was eerie. I will say that. It was eerie, and I hate that feeling. I'm going to say I hate losing. Okay, but I've gone through enough stuff to know now that at almost 50 years old, I'll be 50 years old next month, that I have to listen to that inner voice that says, tonight's not a good night, turn around.
Yep. I know, I hate that because there'll be times I want to get out in the woods or whatever, and they'll say, no, not tonight, we're having a meeting, or others are gathering, or there's if there's something, and it sucks because it doesn't go on my timetable, but then I have to turn around and say to myself, well, at least I was told so that nothing happened, and they seem a little bit more welcoming the next time because I respected the boundaries. And there's times that, they're hooting and hollering out here, and I'll be like, no, I have grandkids here. You need to be quiet because it'll scare the grandkids. And for the most part, they're really pretty respectful of that.
Mm-hmm. See, for me, I didn't feel it was cryptid. I felt it was alien.
It's very possible because right now there's been a lot of sightings, a lot of activity with them. Just a tremendous amount. We already know where you go at that times they are there. But something was warning you against it, regardless of what it was. And I agree with you. I don't pick up that there was any bad cryptids there. I feel like you were helped by a cryptid so that you weren't in that situation. But I don't feel that the problem was the cryptids.
Could very well be. One quick question. When am I allowed to go back into the forest here?
Hang on. They said you need to wait 3 or 4 more weeks before it will be completely safe.
That makes sense with the snow.
Yeah, they just
That
said 3 or 4 more weeks.
That's killing me. I got
I
such a
know.
short season up here.
Yeah. And here it gets so darn hot, you get to where you don't even want to go out because it's like living on the sun. It's awful. I'll be so glad when we move.
Question coming from Malcolm for you.
Sure.
What are your thoughts that Sasquatch and Dogman are responsible for a lot of the missing 411 cases in national parks?
I think that are there some cases from them? I do. Do I think that predominantly it's them? I don't. I know there are a few cases, but again, and I know I sound like a broken record and I'm sorry, but we have our own people, that kill people and hurt people as well in national parks, or for that matter, walking down the street. So, it comes from more than just the cryptids, but do I think that they are the main cause of what goes on in the national parks? I don't believe they're the main cause. I do believe that there is some activity where they have caused that, yes, but they are not the bigger problem.
What do you think it is? Alien? Different dimension portals? Feral people?
I think that the portals, people walk into them, don't know they're there. I think that the ETs are there at different times. We have some that live underground as well as some that come to this planet. I also think that there are so many unknown cryptids that we are not completely aware of. And we also have some that have been released in some of the national parks that are dangerous. And I think you have all of these things that are there. So I think, that has a lot to do with it. I don't think it's any just one factor. But does it happen in the parks? I know for a fact it happens in the parks with them. But I don't think it's at the degree per se that everybody else does. And I don't think it's more Dogman than the Bigfoot or Goatman or whatever. I really don't. I think that you're going to occasionally get one that's not good and that's mean. And it's going to happen if you are in the wrong spot at the wrong time. If you're by the children, especially if you're by the kids, it is a possibility. Absolutely. But I think that there's much worse things out there than the cryptids that are doing it.
This whole feral people thing just messes me right up with this. It really does. I don't know why, but it does. Could you imagine running into feral people? Like that's straight out of a horror movie.
Yeah.
Never mind Sasquatch, Dogmen, or aliens. The feral people would worry me more.
Absolutely. I think they're more of a problem there in the national parks than anything. Because number one, our cost of living anymore is so high that a lot of people can't afford to even have their own home or even an apartment. So they're out living in the woods because it's the only place they can go. They get feral. Then you have others that are legitimately feral. And they are going to be more hostile than anything else. I think that's a big concern. I think more so than the cryptids.
All right, let's get to a question from Shaq. Robin, I've heard you say in the past that you shouldn't gift selenite. Why is that?
It's not that you shouldn't gift it. And I am not a really good person with crystals because I don't know a lot about them. I'll be the first to admit it. Selenite is good for certain things. But a lot of the crystals that you get, if you have them in your possession, that's great because they do certain things. Certain crystals, when left and given to them, can be used against you. Okay, like tourmaline, you can use tourmaline and it's supposed to be a protectant. But if you give it to the foots, and then it can be used against you. Selenite, depending on that crystal, they can use it and look in it and keep an eye on you. It's almost like, a looking glass. So, but it depends on which selenite it is. I mean, my understanding is there's more than one kind. So I always tell everybody, if you're going to gift, don't do crystals, because you don't know what they're going to use those crystals to do that could be harmful for us. White rocks, that's great. They love white rocks. You can go to Walmart and buy a bag of the marble rocks, that are white, and they love them because it's white. But when you gift crystals, I personally get concerned about it. I don't know enough about crystals. I know I should know more, but I don't. But what I do know is we use crystals for certain things. So do they. And because we aren't 100% sure what they're going to use that crystal for, it could be something dangerous to you.
All right. Let us move on. Jules would like to know, Robin, when should I go down into my woods?
You need to wait about 4 or 5 weeks. I don't think you're going to have any major problems, but everything seems to be transitioning now, going into the spring, and let things settle down, let things get calm. Things get really active about this time of year, but I don't know which one of them is telling me, but they're going 4 to 5 weeks.
Excellent. We still got time for a few more here. John is wondering, do you think they, as in the Sasquatch, put some kind of protection on people?
Yeah, I do. I actually do. Yeah. Just like I do energy work, I do energy bubbles on people for protection. That's where I learned how to do it. I know they do. What I've been told by them is they're not allowed to meddle in our lives, but at the same time, they sometimes do. They've done healing work on me before. I know they've done protection on me before. I know several people. I'm not the only one by any means. There's thousands of people they've done it on. It depends on the clan. It depends on the individual. It depends on what that clan leader is going to allow them to do. But yeah, they can. But do they do that on everybody? No, they don't. But they do it a lot. But don't take that for granted, where you slack off on your own safety, because they're not going to help you if you're not going to help yourself.
Let's go to Mike. Why do Bigfoots hate dogs so much?
They don't. They play with mine. They love my dogs. They have my entire life. I've never had a dog issue. The only time that they hate the dogs is, and this is sad because I don't feel it's the dog's fault, when owners allow them to chase the Sasquatch and bark and go after them. They will defend their children. If you're outside with your kids and a dog next door comes over and tries to attack your child, you're going to kill the dog before you're going to let it kill your kid. Now, they come into my backyard. They play with my dogs all the time. They bring them treats. They bring them all kinds of stuff. But in the same time, we here in South Carolina, because they're crazy, when they go to hunt deer, they let them hunt with dogs, which I think is barbaric. But if the dogs don't get them any deer, they dump the dogs in the woods. And these dogs are out there with the Sasquatch, and they're chasing them, and they're biting them at them and chasing the kids. And they will turn around and kill them to protect their families. Like I said, I have never had an issue. I don't believe for 1 minute that they hate all dogs. I think it's a situation where if the dogs aren't controlled, so they're not attacking the Sasquatch, then they'll take care of it. But I've never had a problem. Never. And I have 17 dogs at my house, and they don't bother mine at all. They love them. I've actually looked outside in the backyard and had them picking them up and carrying them around.
I guess it depends on the dog's reaction too, because some dogs just don't know when to stop.
That's the problem. That is the whole entire problem. If they're fine with them. Heck, they'll take some of them, use them as pets of their own. But if it becomes a problem when their safety is a concern because of these dogs. If the dogs are controlled where they don't become a concern for the Sasquatch, then they're fine with them. You might get a couple of them here or there, but we have people like here in the South that steal dogs and use them as bait dogs. Now, the Sasquatch aren't going to use them as a bait dog, but, you might get a couple, that don't like them because they just generally don't like them. But as far as for the overall population, it's not a hate thing against them. It depends on what the dogs are doing.
All right, let's continue on here. Let's go to Dave. How should one react on a first encounter deep in the woods?
You let the encounter, they run the encounter. You don't approach them. If there's going to be any approaching done, it's by them. You don't go to them. You don't know how far they're willing to let you go. If you see one, and it's standing there and it's staring at you, just calmly back away. If you feel any aggression coming from it, back away. You don't want to turn your back on it. You don't want to run because it can outrun you anyway. But normally, very calm. Speak in your mind, speak verbally. I'm here in peace. I'm not here to hurt you. And just back up and leave the area if you feel that it's uncomfortable with you there. Or give it enough space where maybe it will walk off on its own. But you don't go chasing and running after it, and you don't, force yourself on it at all.
What's going to happen to that big guy when he comes by this year? And then I have to go after him.
You don't go after him. You're just going to wait and just watch what he does and take your cues from him. I think you'll find, yeah. If you see him and you notice he's coming around, just stand there, talk to him. That's it. And as he's getting more comfortable with you, he's going to come around more. He already likes you.
Oh, I know that. Got to build that trust.
Yep. It's all mutual respect. Everything is based on mutual respect. Without it, you can't get anywhere with them.
War Criminal wants to know, what time of year do Sasquatch normally birth their young?
I wish I knew that conclusively. What I've noticed, all I can tell you is with my group, I tend to notice that they have the babies towards the summer because generally by September and October, they're bringing the babies out. Now, like I said, that's just my own opinion based on what I have watched. Whether or not that's correct, I don't know. But I know that any of the ones I've worked with, anywhere from, I want to say, April till July is when I have heard babies crying. And then usually by September and October, I see, the littler ones will be out where they're letting them out more and moving them around a little bit more.
Continuing on, Joe wants to know if they like pumpkins.
They actually do, but again, it individualized on whether that one likes the taste of it. I usually throw pumpkins out for them. A lot of times they play with it. A real good friend of mine, his family put a pumpkin out and they took that right away.
Final question for you, because we're literally down to 30 seconds. Donna wants to know why some people in a family sees, hears, and feel Bigfoot and others do not.
Because the people that are feeling him are able to read the energy that they're around. Everybody's different. Some people pick up energy signatures easier than others. That's all it boils down to, is the energy.
Robin McRae, everybody, filling in for Super Duke on the Cryptid Report. We thank her for it. We thank Dr. Melba Ketchum as well for coming on in and making it just a wonderful night of cryptids all around the world. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat room tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. All right. That
you,
was a lot
Dave.
of fun.
I'll talk to you later, babe. Love ya.
Take care. Good night, my dear.
Bye-bye. Thank you again.
Yes. We will see you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Robin McCrae, everybody. She's disappearing. Disappearing. Oh, let's see here. Woohoo. By the way, if you are coming to Las Vegas and you have a VIP ticket, very soon you're going to be getting a letter from us with a list of our special guests that'll be attending that you get to hang out with and mingle with, as well as a full itinerary of everything that we will be doing that weekend. Yes, it'll be a lot of fun, and you should come. You really should come. The hell is that? Oh, look at that. My headphones are ripping. I did not even notice that. After all this time, they're cracking. Well, they've been good headphones. That was a fast 3 hours. Am I still getting the owl tattoo? That depends on Varley Venturae. Varley and I are supposed to get tattooed in Vegas, which is actually kind of coincidental because as soon as I get back, I've got a tattoo appointment up here. It's my birthday present to myself. I'm getting a Sasquatch put on my leg. Thank you, War Criminal. No, I'm not getting it on my ass, Derek. We're going to get a tattoo on your ass. It's going to say random guy on it. Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee. Random guy. Oh, you sicko. You sicko, Derek. I'm going to get a giant Love V Love tattoo on my buttocks. Then I'm going to get the famous necktie of Eugene Braxton. I will guarantee you all that Eugene Braxton is going to be the best dressed man in Las Vegas at our party. That man's got style. Forrest Louis, you turned 63. Oh, congratulations, Forrest Louis. Let's sing to him. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Forrest Louis. Happy birthday to you. There you go, buddy. Happy birthday, my friend. Thank you, Jamie. Malcolm Hawthorne. Good to have you here. Good to have you here. Oh, yeah, that's where we were having that audio echo trouble coming back. That's why it's like that. All right, there we go. Anita, are you going to come to our Vegas party? Next year, Anita, you'll be healthy enough to come and join us. We'll send you some love and healing. How about that? Mm-hmm. The party next year, I'm not sure yet. That is being debated right now where we may put it. There's a number of things that we have to. It's actually a really good question. That's a lot deeper than what you think, Vash. The reason why I like places like Las Vegas is because it allows everything for everybody. And that is something that you got to be caught. Like if you're in our shoes, you need to be cognizant of, because some people like to stay up all night. Other people want to go to bed at 8, 9 o'clock or 10 or midnight or whatever it may be. And so this, if we have it elsewhere, a lot of hotels will have noise violation times or quiet times, say 11 o'clock or midnight or wherever. And for a lot of people, they just want to keep going. Like last year, there was one night where we went until I think 6:30 in the morning. So, I mean, yeah, Dave's good to go. Okay. Dave is good to go. Okay. I may doze off a couple of times, but I'm always ready to go. And if we go elsewhere, there's a couple of things that go along with it. People want to stay up late. Where do they go? Because you can't party in hotel rooms anymore, and people get kicked out of hotel. You can't party in a hotel lobby once their lounge is shut down because of noise violations, and they don't want to deal with a bunch of, in their minds, drunken idiots, even though you're not. But they don't want to deal with us in a hotel. The other thing too is flight. Outside of this year's screw up that happened, Nevada or Vegas is usually pretty cheap to deal with, and we did not have that ability to make it cheap because of we did when we booked it, but prices shot up very quickly once they announced that this EDM music concert was coming around or coming back after 3 years off due to COVID. And it brings in like 110,000 people into the city. So all the hotels, because of that concert, jack everything up. And we got caught in that. So that's kind of one of the other issues that we dealt with. Now, I know that not everybody likes Las Vegas. I personally love the city, but that's just me. We're trying to find a place where everybody can kind of get together, whether it's Vegas, whether it's Reno. See, the other issue is if you let's say we did Mount Shasta. Well, you have to fly into San Francisco or Sacramento or wherever. Then you're going to have to rent a car or something, and then you're going to have to, make that long trek to Mount Shasta, and then you're going to have hotels that probably have noise curfews and everything that kind of goes along with that. So, I mean, it's a little bit more of an issue, at least in my eyes, when you don't have a hotel right there, or whereas someplace like Vegas, I'm just using Vegas as an example. Reno would be another one, where when you fly in, you're already right there, and that is something else, where I'm leaning, and we're going to talk to the team about it, but where I'm leaning is going back to Vegas next year, but taking it off the strip, because there are a lot of hotels that are really nice, but they are actually off the strip. And I think we need to check with some of them, or we need to check with what kind of deals can we get up in Reno or wherever. So that's just some of the things that we're checking on, and we haven't made any decisions for next year yet. So I'm hoping I would really like to find a place soon, because we want to get everything started ASAP. This year we've learned where we've done very well, and we've learned where we've made mistakes. So, I mean, every year it's about trying to make it better and a bigger and a better experience for you guys. Plus, we have to make it a place that our special guests want to attend to as well. And a lot of our special guests are on the West Coast, and they love traveling to Vegas. And they will do it on their own dime, which, we're all doing this on our own dime, and our special guests are coming for you guys, and they're coming because they love Vegas. And so that is something that we have to keep in mind as well. So, that's something that we are looking into. So there's a bunch of little factors that kind of come up with it, but here's the thing. Like, if you do a campground event, you still have to keep the noise down. A lot of people don't like camping. A lot of people don't want to spend the money on camping gear. So, I mean, it's really this conundrum that we're in right now. So, and trying to accommodate as many people as possible, from people who are wealthy and people who are living paycheck to paycheck, trying to fit it all into one basket is very tough. So, I don't know yet. That's probably the best answer that I have right now and I wish I could do better than that, but right now I can't. So I do apologize for that. Let's go here. Give you guys a little bit of elephant action. I'll be right back. Isn't that a great camera shot right there? Just a fantastic camera shot. Be right back. Speaking of camping, what we might do next year is do a private, if we get good action at this spot this year and the action continues, what we may do is we may do a private get together up in this area for those who want to come up and do a like a 3 or 4 day camping trip up here. Hi, Unexplained. How you doing? Wallet Moth, how are you? So we may do a couple of events next year. What happened to my hair? I had a really, I wasn't feeling good before the show, and I had a shower, and I was trying to keep my hair dry, and my jaw was killing me. So I'm kind of pumped up on painkillers right now. So I had a nap before the show, so it flattened this side of my hair, and then I looked at it and I'm like, oh my God, that's terrible tonight. That's just terrible. That should be illegal. So we working on it. We working on it. Yeah. My dentist said that through everything, because it was in the cavity that I had was in such a hard area. My jaw was, and the area around my tooth is really bruised. So I have to battle with that for the next week or so. But it's getting better, that's for sure. Quite the set of cods on that one guy right there, eh? Holy cow. Just shove your nuts right in the middle of the camera, why don't you? Wallet moth, I have hair. I still have my hair over here. What did you learn from that experience? How's Canadian dental treating? I'm fully covered, so I'm not too worried about it. What did I learn from that experience? It was my first cavity in like 25 years. I was so pissed off at that. So pissed off. And it had to be on the furthest back tooth of my mouth. That really sucked. No, I know what did it today. I had some leftover homemade tacos, and the beef hardened a little bit, and so it was really. And I chew on my left side, so chewing on my left side kind of set it off. Do I know when when we'll be back from Montana Tech? Don't know. Soon, probably. I love Mike. Aliens cause cavities. Like I recooked the beef tonight, but it was just tough. It was very tough, and it just kind of hurt my jaw. Hurt me jaw. Oh, shoot. Forgot to upload that. That might be helpful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll figure something out ASAP for next year. We want to give everybody as much notice as possible. So, I'd love to get 100, 200 people out to an event. That would be great. Tomorrow night on the show, we are going to have a special panel with Bob Spearing, Dan Warren, Science Bob. Who else is joining us? Let me check here. That's not it. Louis Borges and Melinda Leslie for the review of the latest UFO talks at the Pentagon. So there will be no Merle tomorrow night. He'll come back the following week. Or not the following week, the following month before we head off to Las Vegas. And then we will be getting all into UFOs and get you all up to date with what happened yesterday. Yeah, that will be fun. Big thank you tonight to Long Island Bigfoot, Louis ×2, Deb, Nancy H, Uncle Bones, Kira, Scowling, Greg O'Brien, Laura, Anita, Gizmo, Derek ×2, CS, Maggie, and Human Carl for the amazing super chats tonight. Don't forget, do a little shopping on our website, spacedoutradio.com, because we kind of like it when you do. And for the rest of you, we'll see you tomorrow night. Thank you to all our new subscribers, and we'll see you then. Take care, guys.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.